Dead or alive, you're watching this podcast with me, preferably live. And welcome. Oh, Mikey.
I choose dead.
Sorry.
You choose dead? That would be very weird because you'd be a zombie. So welcome to the show. We have with us today Zombie 6. She's like, brains. Send more paramedics. Also joining us, of course, back again is the one, the only Mexican Iron Man. How you doing?
Reba, I have my own exciting announcement later in the show after we do our own introductions of this esteemed panel.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And 6, I didn't ask exactly how you were doing. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome because I'm super excited about the news today.
Interesting. We also have joining us 32 flavors of Nick Weiser. How are you?
I'm good. Happy to be here on Midnight's Edge After Dark. Hail to the chat. Hail to the mods. How are you, Sir Tom?
I am okay. We also have with us Clobberin' Times. How you doing, Clobby?
Oh, great, man. Thanks for having me here. I appreciate that. Hail to this fantastic panel and the wonderful chat. Hey, chat. Hey, clobber on.
Glad to have you back, my friend. Also with us tonight is Script Doctor coming in at the last minute. How you doing?
Oh, that's the story of my life today. I woke up way too early, then fell asleep and woke up way too late. So, yeah, I'm doing all right.
He literally comes running in the door, still tying his shoes. I know how that is.
I woke up at like 3:30 in the afternoon, man.
I took a nap too, and unfortunately, it was a bad idea. Also joining us, a guest who is here from time to time, one of our Midnight's Edge Espanol members, Mr. Diego. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How about you guys? How's everybody doing?
Diego!
What's up, bud?
A little bit more
Indeed.
representation.
And we got a little representation here. Looks
So you're
somebody-
he's saying the only reason I'm here is for representation and not my expertise in finance or my knowledge of fandom or my passion for properties?
No,
because you're
I'm saying
Caucasian.
because we balance out everything else.
You're being racist, Diego.
You're here because you get me cookies, Mike.
Exactly. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. My contributions are being overlooked here by this
That's right.
Latinx guy down here at the bottom.
He doesn't get the cheap cookies. He gets the bougie cookies, like the fancy.
At least
ones.
Script treats me like I'm a colleague, Diego.
Yes.
You're my
Is
producer.
that a Spanish
remember.
word? I don't know that word. Colleague.
Colleaguero is the new word that I will
Colleaguero.
make up. Colleaguero.
Caligaro.
That reminds me of what the fuck movie was. Oh, True Romance. I just watched that the other night, and that one dude and the bad guy can only speak Italian or whatever, and Sean Penn's just sitting there screaming at him like, "Come the fuck out! Put your hands up and drop the gun!" He just keeps saying it that way, and the guy's just like acting like he doesn't understand, and he's like, "El Drapo the gunno." He just adds that, and then he finally acts like he understands. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Anyway, but we're here to talk about some news that's going on in the world of entertainment. Some of us watched a show. Some of us decided to just watch a completely different show. And sounds like some people are making a show they're not too sure about. But we're going to talk about all those things and probably more as we kick things off here on Midnight's Edge After Dark. I see in the chat we got Action Com. How you doing, buddy? D-Bud Martin is here as well. We got Paulie, a.k.a. Latino Slant.
Hey, Paulie.
How you doing, Paulie? And we also have Donnie Pearson here. We got Steven, a.k.a. Deleted Scenes in the house. We got Ghost in the Photo. We got Cryokin, if I'm saying that right, or is it Cyrokin? I think it's Cryokin. We also have Andy Masterson's in the house. Hey, how you doing, Andy? We also have Dr. Dragon, Grand Admiral Adam, Myosphere's Origin, Monster Huntress Rune, Isaac Lemon. Let's see who else we got. Cosmic Squirrel. We got Gotham Bat. Hey, that's me. We got Tex Florida and so many more. Thank you for being here, guys. Hit that like button. Please share out the link. I see a few more faces saying hello. We got Dan Myko, SP4H, Ironcaster. I think I just saw Snowdub in the house. I sure did. Hey, Snow, how you doing? Michael Gonzalez, Marks47, Coffee Lover, some more regulars coming on in here. Welcome, guys. Hope you're doing well. I see Monkey representation with Rob Altus here, and War Monkey for that instance. I also see Gonzalo Bergali and our would he be the cowboy German RoboCop? I guess Darius Moonchouse. With a name like that, it's got to be German. Anyway, welcome guys, and we're glad to have you here. So some interesting news kicked off the day today, guys, or at least actually it happened late last night, let's say. And it's something that's kind of taking the entertainment world by storm. So we're going to break this down a little bit. And actually, this is one of the reasons why Diego wanted to be here, because he has a take on this, especially when it comes to the Embracer Group, at least. But the headline says it all. Embracer Group acquires IP rights to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, I know this is like a whoa kind of headline, and everybody's like, wait, what does this mean? And we're going to break all this down. And for those who didn't see my tweet earlier, that's the short version of what we're going to get into here. But basically, this Swedish video game company called Embracer Group just bought the licensing rights from the Saul Zaentz Company. Now, the Saul Zaentz Company is a name you may be familiar with, especially if you've hung around the channel. They are the company that for the past, I believe, close to 50 years, have controlled all the media rights for The Lord of the Rings, while the Tolkien estate owns all the rights to the books themselves. Okay, now this is kind of complicated and it's kind of convoluted. And I will say up front that this headline does not mean as much as I think people think it means. But what it will do is open up the Lord of the Rings to probably a few different avenues it wasn't before. But we're going to get into all that here. But basically, that's the gist of it. The Saul Zaentz Company has sold their rights in the Lord of the Rings, which includes the media rights, which includes television, video games, movies, those kinds of things, tabletop games, probably action figures, I'd imagine, all sorts of merchandising, licensing.
Placemats.
So that's
Placemats.
placement. Well, yeah.
I saw that mentioned in an article, and I was like, "Oh, that's highly specific."
Yeah, that's highly specific. Pretty much anything you can put Lord of the Rings on, they would control that now. So, real quick, I'm going to grab everybody's response to this, but let's start with Diego, since he's our special guest this evening, and he had a few things he wanted to say about this. So, tell us, Diego, why this is such a big deal, or why you think it's such a big deal anyway.
Okay, just for a bit of context for those who don't know about Embracer, right? Embracer had another name before, THQ Nordic. It was a major video game publishing. It sort of is a phoenix rising from the ashes, so now it's still in video games, but sort of expanding into other things. Like, for example, Embracer also owns Dark Horse Comics. They also own Dark Horse Entertainment. They own Asmodee. It's one of the biggest like board games, card game, and RPG distributors in the world. So it's like they have their hands in a lot of things aside from video games. Yes, most of their stable is video games, but still they have many hands in entertainment as a whole. And the idea of them taking this jump is more of them making a statement about how they want to be part of the entertainment landscape. They're just coming out, like Nintendo came out and said, we're going to do a Mario movie instead of just remaining video games. They said, we're going to handle the movie. They even bought a whole studio for that. And so it's sort of a sign from the video game industry as a whole, showing that the industry has matured. And now the companies are going to start trying to diversify in other mediums of entertainment that are connected, because something most people don't know about is that many movies today use technology that was also developed for video games in part of the CGI, especially now that they're trying to use Unreal Engine in movie making. And Unreal Engine was first designed by Epic as a video game engine. So it's sort of like, the world of entertainment is starting to become a more interconnected and I think a bit messy. So it's like this new Wild West of companies that were once dedicated to something coming out and trying to take the entire landscape as a whole. And I think it's important because Embracer is a group that shows this mentality of results. They sort of have this mentality the same as Zaslav. They want results. They don't care about messaging. They're more like, did this produce profit for us? No, cut it. Did this make money? Yes, keep it going, kind of mentality. So it's like, it's them coming out and saying as a whole statement for the financial world as well as for the entertainment world that we're here, we're going to stake our claim. And the way they knew they're going to do it is by buying the rights.
All right, Script Doctor, is somebody from inside the industry. What does this kind of thing mean to you? What does it signal anyway?
Well, hopefully it'll mean more opportunities to explore Lord of the Rings and the lore, because the Zans company hasn't really done much with the property for its entirety. I mean, basically you got 2 animated movies, constant republishing of the books, maybe a video game or board game or 2, and then the New Line films. That's not a lot over 50 years for a property. So hopefully Embracer Group wants to do more, wants to really have some fun with this property. I don't know how they'll treat it. Based on what Diego said, hopefully it'll be good. But other than that, it's just hoping it's for more opportunities for Lord of the Rings stuff. There's nothing they can do to I guess stop the Amazon thing. So don't get your hopes up there. But hopefully, with them involved, anything with regards to the media rights that they have for Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, they'll be able to put out something that the fans will love and will bring in a newer audience.
All right, Clobby, anything to say about this? I think he stepped away. We'll come back to Clobby. Nick, is there anything to say about this?
Yes, sir. Actually, I do.
Oh, it looks like he had some issues. He should be back though, I would imagine.
He'll be back. Anyways, well, by a little bit of my first initial thoughts is, with Embracer doing games, I'm hoping they can pull out some sweet games, kind of like the way EA Games put out those cool PS2 Lord of the Rings games. Those were really fun. So if they could get something like that, I am so in for that. So, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic, because if this can be good, this gives people an alternative to whatever Amazon is going to be with their fan fiction. So I'm cautiously hopeful. I mean, what Diego's saying all sounds good. I just want to see it play out from theory into reality. So they at least got my attention. Embracer Group definitely has my attention. And like I said, if they can bring me some sweet video games, Lord of the Rings style, bro, every fiber of my being is all in. And that's all I got to say about that.
All right, Clobby, you're back, and I think we
Sorry
can hear you
about
now. No, that's all right, my friend.
Issue there. I've just heard about this just today, just right now. So I like a lot what Diego said, but I don't know much about this company other than them owning Dark Horse. So, but I'm with Nick. Sounds like it's
so they own Dark Horse.
Dark Horse Comics.
Oh, interesting.
And so.
See, now that's something I wonder if they can actually use the rights for. I wonder if comic books falls under the same thing as books. Because even though you mentioned book script, that's the one thing they can't do anything about. Because the Tolkien company controls the reprinting of any of the books.
The estate controls the reprinting of any of the books, but with regards to media rights, they can do anything with those books, and they can also do other stuff like more audio plays. They could do like picture book comparisons. They could
that was my question: does that cover picture books and like audio, or not audio books, but comic books? Does that fall under the same umbrella?
Split up the Lord of the Rings into various little short story chapters. They still have to go through the estate, but they can do it.
Okay.
I was going to also just add, what they can actually use are the stories from Tolkien's letters, because they're not part of the body of work of the books. They are part of the estate, but they can't. They're actually, the rights, I think, are related more with the media side, like, because part of those letters were used to make the movies, like the reference of women of female dwarves having beards are from the
and I think that's because the Tolkien estate actually participated in the say the Jackson films, for instance. But the thing is, and this is my point I was bringing it up, is the Amazon show has nothing to do with these rights. They did not go to the Saul Zaentz company, and that's why they have nothing to do with Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. It's a completely separate entity. This affects that show none whatsoever. That's why that show has to do only things it can do, and it can't touch other things, because that was a deal the Tolkien estate made with Amazon outside of the Saul Zaentz company. I don't know how they finagled it, other than they just used the rights to things that they had that weren't under the Saul Zaentz company. But basically, Saul Zaentz has been the licensing company for all those things for all these years. So that's where that's not going to be affected. But 6, what's your reaction to this?
There's two things that really stick out to me in this whole thing, and I've spent quite a bit of time on this since last night when it first dropped. Is part of the press release says other opportunities include exploring additional movies based on iconic characters such as Gandalf, Aragorn, Gollum, Galadriel, Eowyn, and other characters from Tolkien. So that's exciting to me because I would love to see those characters on screen again. And the other thing that sticks out to me is the purchase price was they paid $572.8 million for 6 acquisitions. And one of those acquisitions was the rights to Lord of the Rings. And so what happened from back in February when it first, I guess, kind of came out that Saul Zaentz was looking to sell, when it was estimated that it was going to sell for $2 billion, and now it dropped down to half a billion. So
I might
is
have
that
an answer to that.
Okay, let's hear it.
But no, go ahead and finish off your thoughts though.
Well,
first.
is it because of what Amazon has done to the IP? Did it drop down the value of it? Is there such a negative connotation involved in it that it devalued the purchase price so much? And why didn't Amazon buy it? Because I think a lot of people were saying, well, of course Amazon is going to buy it. If Jeff Bezos
they were
wants it,
hovering
he can get it.
around it. They were actually looking at it earlier this year when Saul Zaentz put the as you said, for $2 billion is what they were asking for. And at that time, what they said is, we're selling the rights to the Lord of the Rings, we think, and the Hobbit. And Amazon come in and they're like, well, I see we can work with the Hobbit rights here because we have no issue there because now we're buying MGM, which that's where the movie rights are sitting at. But what's this about Warner Brothers claiming they still have the rights? And Saul Zaentz's company is like, well, you can make a movie and see what happens. Like, here's the thing. Saul Zaentz's company has been in court more than they've actually made products. Script is right. Saul Zaentz's company has basically kept Lord of the Rings out of a lot of merchandising opportunities because of their fucking stupidity and their undercutting and all their bullshit that they pull. They should know damn well, and this is why I put this tweet out, and here's my response to this. This is a big deal when it comes to video games, tabletop, and the reason it only sold for less than what I think it's even worth is because they can't do shit with the rights for years to come. That's why. They can only do certain things with the rights. Maybe a couple of video games, some tabletop stuff, maybe some figurines and all that kind of stuff. As far as the movies go, all those rights are all wrapped up still. They ain't gonna be able to do jack squat with them because basically what they did here, what Embracer did, was buy a rental company. That ain't gonna change any of the contracts that are already out there. Warner Brothers, as long as they get their movie out and everything's done, they're technically still within their rights. They have retained the Lord of the Rings rights. So Warner Brothers will hang on to those for at least another 10 years. Like I said, MGM had the rights to the movies. Amazon bought them. That's where those sit. Now, as far as like a new television show, there's a possibility there. I don't know how them rights go with Warner Brothers. You'd have to bring out their stuff if they had television and movie rights. Well, I think it was just movie at that time, I would imagine. But I don't know. Other than that, yeah, they could maybe do some TV series, some animated features. So there is a Gollum video game coming out that's been being worked on for years. Yeah. I actually knew one of the guys who was working on it. I have no idea what the progress on that is. But at this point, they can't really change anything that's already in motion, right? They have to honor all the previous contracts. So that's another reason why I think it's so cheap, is because they can't do shit for years with these. Because the Saul Zaentz company, they don't own the rights to they own the rights, but they don't have the right to license these things out until those other licenses lapse, is my point. Sorry. And I'm Mikey. I know you wanted to chime in last, and I think you can probably fill in for that part of it as far as companies buying other companies and how that shit works out.
Yeah, from a corporate financial strategy standpoint, I think when I saw this happening, I sort of came at it from a different angle. One angle has to do with the fact, I don't know, I'm not a board guy, but I know I am in touch with a lot of my friends who are. They're very much excited about this acquisition in terms of the portfolio. There's a company called Asmati. I don't know if you guys are very familiar with it, but I think there aren't that there. I think if you take a step back, and I could be wrong, this is complete conjecture and it's based purely, this is just my read of the situation based upon 20 or 18 years of being in corporate finance and stuff, which is that I think it was a strategic decision to put this up for sale in February. You know, we have Lord of the Rings premiering later in the year. I think the strategic idea would have been, hey, we're going to ask for $2 billion. And hopefully what with Lord of the Rings, even though it's an Amazon and there's different licensing deal, et cetera, that there's going to be momentum around this brand name and around this property. And I think the expectation probably would have been there. If I were on the team selling and packaging this over at the Salt Sands Company, if I was in the finance and accounting team, I would have basically said, hey, let's get this offer out there. Let's get the buzz going. Amazon's going to have its thing out later in the year. There's going to be a lot of buzz. If ever there's a time for us to cash out, specifically because of what Script said earlier in the show, which is that the Salt Sands Company hasn't taken advantage
not really
of what they could have done over the last several decades. They basically held on to it and did what a lot of people do in Hollywood. They grab the rights, they grab the options, and then they don't really realize the full potential. And here's a great example. You take someone who's an industry guy like Script. If Script had been at the Salt Sands Company, I'm sure he would have had a few ideas to put together. Yes, Script, I'm sure, right?
I would have explored some options.
Yeah, and the thing is because he's active, and so this is their move. They're like, look, if there's ever a time that we're going to sell and we're going to cash out, let's do it now. Now, what's happened, however, is the market realities have set in. And what are those market realities? It is very clear that in the financial sector and in media circles in general, people know that Amazon Lord of the Rings, that this is a dicey offering, this Rings of Power thing, and who knows if it's going to be successful or not. It could be a complete and total train. If I'm a finance guy and I'm not, and again, I'm taking myself out of the YouTube fandom circles for a second, and I'm just coming in, look at this. My advice to any buyer that I might be in the financial management team for is I'd say, you know what? Why don't we wait and see how this thing goes? Or if we do negotiate, let's take advantage of the fact that right now the public sentiment is negative, and let's see if we can get a deal on this thing. Let's move in now.
I'm not so sure that the Ring of Power thing had anything to really do with their decision.
It may or may not, but I'm just trying to tell you is that people.
No, I get you.
People in finance aren't going to give so much of a shit about. People in finance aren't going to. This is how they treat stocks, bonds, mutual funds. They're not going to get it. It's kind of like the Disney thing or the Star Trek thing. Like Tom, when you talk about that, these studio heads don't think the way that we do as fans.
Right.
Well, the financial people are even less. So I am not. I think these guys expected that there's going to be that $2 billion was going to be a floor, and that the ceiling was going to end up being 3, 4, or 5, and that didn't happen. And I think there's a lot of reasons why that didn't happen. And frankly, I find it fascinating that the buyer is a Swedish company and that they couldn't get a domestic company to pick this up. Because I would have thought if big money was going to come to the table, it would have been a U.S. Financial firm, and it wasn't.
I think the main reason is what I said, and that is you're really limited on what you can do for the next few years. And yeah, Fractal 13 Rain here, or Fractal 13 Rain. It's what I'm reading. It says it's crazy to have those license rights still. No one is going to make a contract where you can renew rights each time you make a movie anymore. Unfortunately, that's one of those things that's most of the time baked right into the contract. Great example is how Fantastic Four was held hostage for years and years and years. And this happens to a lot more IPs than you realize. Like when you sit down and ask, why haven't they done this movie? Or why can't they do this movie? Or why haven't they brought in this character? 9 times out of 10, it's because of the stupid shit that they've pulled where they'll sell the rights to something. And in this case, basically Warner Brothers pulled a fast one on them and said, fuck you, you're not getting these rights back from us. We're hanging on to them, and they put a movie in production. And that's the other thing is I don't know exactly what rights Warner has. They may even retain television rights for all we know, because in the MGM deal, they have the Hobbit television rights. See, that was the thing is Warner Brothers had to work with MGM to get the Hobbit off the ground. That took years to get that thing worked out. They were back and forth trying to figure out that whole thing for a long time. And that's why it took, what was it, almost a decade before we finally saw The Hobbit after Lord of the Rings?
Yep.
So, yeah. And it was all because of the legal wrangling and trying to figure out who had what rights. And that's why at the end of the day, when the movie was finally released, I believe they worked out the deal that MGM got the video or the theatrical distribution rights outside of the U.S. Warner got it in the U.S. and then they split the video deal. I think throughout the country, the world too, is kind of how they worked it out in the end. I don't know the exacts. I'd have to go back and look, but that's what
between
I'm saying.
2005
Yeah.
and 2015, Warner Brothers sorted out all of their IP rights. So like with regards to the DC's type of thing, they've got everything pretty much. I don't think there's anything that's outside of that.
Yeah, well, they're
realm.
the only ones who have ever kept, because that was one deal they made sure way back when they never were going to let the Superman deal happen again. When they sold the rights to the Salkinds.
Yeah, that was the biggest mistake they made, and they corrected that in the 90s.
Yeah, and at that time, Marvel, on the other hand, was doing the opposite, and they were selling their rights to every Tom, Dick, and Harry that would come along and give them $10.
Well,
so that was the problem.
Yeah.
And that's what caused the problems that are still to this day rippling through the Marvel universe.
That's right.
And that's what I'm saying is going on here is kind of a thing. You have rights all over the place. And so this is a video game company, and I can't remember what game company we were talking about a while back, but they were buying up some IPs too, and everybody's like, well, why are they doing it? They're becoming IP farms is what they're doing.
That's exactly it. That's what I was trying to get to earlier. That is exactly it.
But, I mean, and video games is an area where Lord of the Rings has not been tapped into its full potential at all.
No, and you're most likely going to get a lot of derivative fighting games from Lord of the Rings, which is not what Lord of the Rings is about. So, hold on to that.
See, that's the thing is I don't know much about this Embracer company, and that's part of the reason why I'm glad Diego is here, because I don't know much about them at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mostly, yes. Basically, how do I put it? Embracer has like 3 major labels for video games. They have Gearbox, who are famous for doing the Borderlands series, which is a mix between RPG and first-person shooter. They have Saber Interactive, and they have THQ. THQ is the one that has experience in strategy games. And some of the best reviewed and most beloved Lord of the Rings games were the Battle of Middle-earth series, 1 and 2. They were both strategy series. Think something like Age of Empires. Okay? Those were the most potential you had for the story Lord of the Rings could happen, because you could basically sort of recreate the War of the Ring. You could have the orcs against the dwarves or against the elves, whatever. And sort of because Embracer has that potential, they can tap back to that market that most people are missing with Lord of the Rings, because also every single successful board game that's come out with Lord of the Rings IP that hasn't been a role-playing game or something similar has been some kind of strategy game. Be it the derivative Risk one, be it the weird one where I can't remember what it was, but you could build armies on the map, and it was like some weird mix between Stratego and Risk kind of game.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say Risk. Well, here's the thing. Do you think this company has here's an area I don't think
Embracer, Tom. Embracer it's been around for a long time, like decades, and it is a gaming company first and last. I mean, it really.
And that's what I figured. That's what I gathered.
It's not a studio. Yeah. It's not a publishing house. I mean, they've got about they state in their last fiscal report they've got about $35 billion worth of assets. Yada yada yada. But its origins date back to like 2000, 2001. It was went public, in the current iteration about 10 years ago. But it is a video game company. Those of us who are gamers have known about these guys for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the odds of them putting together like an open world online game like EverQuest used to be, right?
Oh,
like,
no.
Or World of Warcraft or anything like that. See, that's I think an area where Lord of the Rings has not been tapped yet that I think would be a huge success.
There is one.
Is there? Okay.
Yes. But
I don't play video games. So
I actually tried to play it, but the connection was really terrible for me. But Embracer, that's why I'm saying that Embracer instead, I don't feel like they bought it, to use it as an IP and to maximize it, but I feel more they bought it to simply bring eyeballs to them. Because this is already the second gaming company that has decided, we're going to take take the entertainment side of films, right? Because first was Nintendo, now comes Embracer. And I feel it's more that, even though they do have technically an arm to do it, because Dark Horse is divided between Dark Horse Comics and Dark Horse Entertainment, and it's technically a movie division, technically. So they could theoretically do a series, especially because, if I'm not mistaken, from what I've been looking, the Silmarillion is still one of those that can actually be used for a movie or series, since nobody has rights for that. But the Silmarillion
Is that something the Xant's company controlled, though? That was, I think they do.
Because it was part of the original. If I'm not mistaken, it was part of the original packet. They were supposed to even do something with it, but it never came to fruition because the Silmarillion is a very dense book. You think?
I was gonna say, I think that's under the Xant's control, if I remember right. And that's why Amazon couldn't touch it either.
Yep.
So
I don't understand by what you're hypothesizing, Diego. You're saying they bought this to bring eyeballs to what and where? There are other IPs and there are other offerings. Is that what you're saying?
I feel more than their other IPs and offerings, the fact that they're saying to the world, like, we are an entertainment company.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, that this is meant. I agree with you completely. That when I saw this morning, when I heard about it from Six, I turned on the thing. She was on Pop Culture Minefield. I think Six, you were on. Is that where you were at? Yes, Pop Culture Minefield.
Yeah,
and I was listening to.
She's cheating on us.
Oh my God! No, she is a valuable resource
with Jerry with a G, no less.
She is a valuable resource of knowledge in the community, and her talents are appreciated in multiple places. How's that, Six? Does that sound right?
That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I want to appreciate some more talent. Okay, I'm digressing. Anyway, yeah. See, this is what I was trying to suggest earlier when Tom was talking, Diego. I think you're 100% on point. This is traditionally a gaming company. By them making this move, they're like, boom, we are planting our flag in the ground, and that we are no longer a gaming company that has this and has that. We are doing this. And this is a pretty baller move because for a company that's got 35, what's their market cap? Their market cap's only $8 billion, and they just did a $2 billion deal. That would be like, what would be that? That would be like 2, 4, 6, 8. That would be like you have $100 and you're willing to take 20. You got $100 and you got to take 20, 25 of those bucks. I mean, you might set them on fire, or you're going to take 25% of your liquidity or your equity and go and do this. That's a big deal. That's normally that doesn't happen very often.
Who did a $2 billion deal?
I'm just saying when your market cap is $8 billion. Doing a $2 billion acquisition is what Diego's saying. It's a show. It's a major commitment to diversify your company.
They did a $500 million.
But is that exactly what it was, or was there some stock option? Was there something else? Because we don't know how. Is that they actually said that's the amount?
The only thing they published was that.
This is from CNBC. It says the purchase was part of 6 acquisitions by Embracer Group, totaling 6 billion Swedish krona, about 572.8 million.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So they bought more than just the Lord of the Rings rights. They bought some other things too.
You bought some other stuff too.
Yeah,
and they took and the company. I'm reading their NASDAQ profile. They also did a recent acquisition. Their stock's way up right now, by the way. But
whoever made this deal,
they took in some outside capital too about a couple months ago.
Deserves a raise and a blowjob. Because they just made the deal of a fucking lifetime. Even though these rights are all wrapped up, you're still gonna get paid out the ass for the next however many years for this thing. And all you got to do is tap into a little bit of, like you said, this isn't a video game company. Fuck it, 6, 7 decent games out there that people actually like, and you're golden, right? And you just sit back, collect the rights checks, and because that's the thing is, even if Warner doesn't make anything, they still have to eventually. So they're going to eventually have to pay you, or the rights are just going to lapse, and you'll be able to resell the rights again.
Right. And I like to go back to what Script and Six were talking about earlier, which is like, I think Six made the comment that, or Script made the comment of like, if they do something with it, it's going to be great. Six said that she's optimistic. I actually think long term, this is a good move for people that are fans of Lord of the Rings going forward.
Well, and if my math is correct, then the Hobbit rights should revert in 2024, but I'm not 100% on that. But that, if my math is correct.
Well, Mikey, and I'm always optimistic. Remember, I was optimistic about Rings of Power, and before I finally gave in and said it's going to be a shitfest.
Oh.
I want to ask Diego, is there any like companies that we should know about who are, I guess you could say, who are maybe funders for I'm already forgetting their name.
Like a Chinese company or anything like that?
That or some company, yeah. Because
Saudi Arabia.
Because I want to know, like, who
Saudi Arabian money?
Yeah, they just invested $1 billion last year.
Yep.
In
I just want to know if there's any personality we should be aware of? Because I know obviously Diego's coming from a very optimistic standpoint as far as them being business. I just want to hope that they actually do, because all it takes is one to throw a wrench in it and fuck it all up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Lars Wingford, who's been the chairman and CEO of this thing they got reorganized in 2010 or 11. I know he's been around since 2008.
Yeah,
and he's not some wacko. He's not some,
see, this is why I was asking, because I couldn't find a price earlier, and I think Valiant was bringing it up in his report on it too about he thinks it might have just been a down payment.
That could be. We don't know the terms of the deal will be disclosed,
because that seems awfully fucking low for the Lord of the Rings.
They spent a lot of money on a lot of stuff. In general.
Well, let's compare them to Star Wars, right? George Lucas was able to get $4.05 billion for Star Wars. There was 6 movies when they sold it, and a shit ton of books and other, ancillary things, much like there is Lord of the Rings. Same exact situation. How the fuck did those rights not sell for at least 2, if not 3? That's what I don't understand. If you're buying 6 different properties, and 3 of them would likely be the Silmarillion, The Hobbit, and Lord of the Rings, is what I'm guessing. Right there, those 3 alone would be $3 billion, if you ask me. But even 2 of that they were asking for is a steal. I don't know, unless that's what they did, and I don't know if VR's coming in here, but
no, he's not available. I already asked him.
Okay, yeah, because
that's
where my big question comes in. Go ahead, Diego. Yeah, you had a response from earlier.
There is a tactic that Mike could vouch for this, that sometimes when they try to negotiate rights, right, they have a person whose entire job is to basically quantify all the trends and all pieces of data, like the guy who came for the Johnny Depp trial, okay, where he quantifies the data to give them some kind of measurable number, and they use this to show to the owners, like, okay, you're asking for $2 billion currently due to what's happening with X, Y, and Z, right? This is not even worth $2 billion. This is only worth like 400 million. But I'm willing to pay you 570 million just so I can take it today. It's kind of those things.
Yeah, that's correct. That's
I wonder if it's more of a half a payment. I think they'd be able to talk
it could
down
also
to
be a lot
over
of times
$1
the way Tom, you're right. A lot of times the way these deals are structured, especially something like this, where they're saying, "Hey, we've got 6 acquisitions. We're going to spend 6 billion Swedish krona, 572.8 million, whatever." A lot of times that they announce the cash portion, and what they do is they finance it with the stock offering, because right now this company's trading at 75.
That's what I was thinking.
$75 a share, and so and it's kind of like an incentive of the value that's going to be gained that is much more attractive to a seller.
And for the Zalzans company, that makes sense. It keeps them out of the way, but then they're still invested in the company. So if there's any profits,
they have upside.
They will.
They get some cash now. They've got some upside action later. Hey,
and I'm not so sure how much money the Sands company's made off these properties over the years, because they've been in and out of court so many fucking times over it, because they're idiots.
Right.
They have turned around and made deals with people that they couldn't, because they don't pay attention to, or
because they don't
ignore
keep
the rights.
They don't keep track of the deals. Right. They don't keep track of the deals they've made. You and Script have covered this, I think, before. Exactly.
Well, I know that they've been in and out of court at least a dozen times. They were a big problem with the whole Hobbit issue. Like, that was why the rights were fucked up. It was because of them. Like, I don't know, Script, if you have anything to add to that. But yeah.
No, I'm kind of checked out once you started talking about video games, because I don't care about video games.
Me either. I'm not a big video game person either.
Okay, that said, when is the Ghostbusters game coming out? We're all playing. I'm gonna make
Actually,
we are all playing that game.
I cannot wait.
We're gonna form 2 teams of 4. All of us.
Let's do it. It's gonna be huge.
Huge.
My computer won't be able to.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Script?
I have a 12-year-old computer. It's not running the new Ghostbusters game.
Oh,
no, man, mine's.
We need our Egon, man.
I can do it right now.
Jack
You're gonna
White,
make me download Epic just to play this game with you.
if you have to. Jack White says, just watch Doomcock's video he put out today talking about how DC plans on retconning Batman and making him bi. What will the repercussions of that be? I have not seen the video yet.
I
I'm
can
assuming this
answer
is just in
this.
the comic books, right, Nick?
I'll answer this. So,
Yeah.
because I obviously I go to my buddy's comic shop, and it happened in a Black Label book. However, usually once it starts off in one place, it leads to another. So as of now, it happened in a Black Label like 2 or 3 issue miniseries, and it's fun because I looked at it and it's really weird. It's something that's very interpretable. Like it kind of feels like, okay, it's kind of like a is he not? Because I looked at it, I gladly did not buy that. But once you hear things, I want to at least understand for context. And I think a lot of people just kind of like, whoa, Batman's gay or bi or whatever you want to call it. Obviously bi, because we always know he's had the ladies. So I felt like me reading it, it seemed very undefinitive. Like I could see why people would say it, but at the same time, I don't think it's this blown up portion thing to be the way like Iceman came out about being gay. I feel like Iceman was like, okay, this guy straight up came out of the closet in more ways this one. Whereas the Batman one's like, nah, maybe he's not. Now, who knows? Maybe this could lead to them hinting for what could be in the main line, but not that I care, because every character in DC, whether it's Black Label or main continuity, they're doing it to everyone. And we're talking about writers who don't invest in lore and what came before. They just see as everyone is gay or bi, and then nothing else outside of their bubble is straight. So
Yeah.
I
just
would
don't
not
buy the comics.
Yeah,
current
don't
era.
buy the comic. Thank you.
Buy back issues.
Yes.
Go from like 1995 and anything before that, you should be fine.
That's right. Buy back issues, not broke back issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, like listen, if you want to do a story with regarding to like exploring sexuality, I can believe Batman would come up with a persona that would be gay just to help him better find a clue for something, but he's not actually gay. Like he has his Matches Malone character who's like this Jersey sleazy scumbag. Obviously, Batman is not a Jersey sleazy scumbag. Like you can explore it that way if you want, but I mean, what you're telling me, what some of the stuff I've heard around, it just seems like it's repeating the mistakes they've made with Jonathan Kent and Tim Drake and a number of other characters.
Those were other comics where those were a lot more direct. Like, okay, this is straight up, they're making so and so gay or bi. Those were definitely, like I said, this one from this Black Label book, it was more, it can or cannot be. But now people are just, how people are. The minute they saw that scene of Bucky and Falcon together and Falcon Winter Soldier, they're like, oh my god, they must love each other. They're sitting up.
Oh, they were doing the same thing with Finn and Poe in the first Star Wars film.
Yeah, people look for
it goes all the way back to Batman and Robin, for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
which was done by a guy who hated comics and went to the Congress to try and get them banned.
Yeah, that's how subtle or even less than this was this Batman comic. People just look for it. Now don't be surprised though if the writer runs with it like, okay, you know what? They planted the seed, now I can go for it. So that's all it takes is, I mean, who knows? Maybe they did that just to get the shippers going per se. So
he did it to get talk going.
Yeah, and that's all these writers are doing. Like, what happens when you've made every single one of these characters gay or bi? What's next? Make them all asexual? Like, what's like this? Eventually, you hit a cap with all of this. But people, seriously, don't buy these books. Let DC Comics rot. I'm not one to wish bad will on people's business, but DC Comics as writers, especially this current regime, they have been very open about how much they hate us. You can go buy old books. You can even get them from third parties or even mycomicshop.com or other websites where you're not giving them money. Worth it. Trust me. And there's years. Hell, if you want to even message me, I'll gladly take time out of my life to recommend great comics to you. Bobby can do the same thing. Script can do the same thing. We got you covered.
Hello, sailor. I've never seen you here before. Want to come home and fuck me up the ass?
Robin.
This is the story of how I got monkeypox.
May I have a question though? Would this prove even more the fact that maybe DC already says we're gonna be like shuttled off by Zaslav and they're just trying, burn down the ship before they're all fired?
Oh yeah, dude. As I've always said before, Diego, I'm glad you mentioned it. And this is what I said to many people before. These types of writers they're so invested in their ideology that they're willing to burn everything down with them. So yes, these writers, they may see what's going on with Zaslav, like, all right, well, we're just gonna take this thing under with us. And I mean, like Script said many weeks before, and it is factual. DC Comics makes less than 1% of the business of Warner or Discovery, whatever you want to call it. That's true. Now, and at this point, they aren't making material that could inspire a movie. In their eyes, they're just cloud chasing to hopefully get a Netflix deal and hope that someone will be like, oh, hey, you did work for DC. Come join Netflix. These guys aren't there to create the next great, memorable story that can be adapted for a DC comic. They're all doing it.
There's that, yeah. The other part too is that there is a stigma against comic book writers in the industry, which is that because comic book is a different format and storytelling format than what is traditionally done with film and television.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, what you ended up having here, especially with what's going on in Marvel and DC on the publishing side of things, is you have a bunch of mediocre screenwriters that have been in the business for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
They pitch through their connections to those publishers. They pitch stories for their comics, for the comic characters. They then write those comic characters, and then they try to use that back at their studio to say, hey, look, I wrote something, it sells, and it was a lower investment. So now take my TV pilot or my movie that is designed for this, and with my name and my small fan base to whatever that thing that sold is. Roll that into a package to try and market the live action version of either the story they told through that character or another story that they had personally under their belt. It's a really sleazy tactic. It's been going on for about 20 years. I've had agents that have urged me to take some of my original screenplays and just make them into a comic book that they could sell through one of the bigger publishers. And I didn't want to do that because I just didn't want to waste a story on a comic like that. Not for the stigma, just for the fact that it's not gonna. A comic can't do some of the things that I would have been able to do on a live action or even a cartoon basis. I have other friends that are doing that with stories that they have 100% absolutely will never get made into a live action or a cartoon. They're like, yeah, I'll make it in a comic book. It'll look great. And I'm like, all for them for that. But no, that's what you're going to be seeing at this point. I think they are going to burn it down. I think if Zaslav is very clever, he will let it be burnt down so that when he does restart it, or at least points someone to restart it, we don't have 30 Batman-related comic book titles out on the stands. We have a far more conservative number of titles so that you have a far more better chance of good stories. Like, for instance, you have 7 books of each of the core members of the Justice League doing their own stuff, and then you have maybe an annual Justice League trade or something of that nature. Something small, concise, where you can put a lot of investment into it and get a lot in the return as a result. That would be the best way to rebuild DC after the current regime sort of makes it almost worthless.
I wish people would quit pretending that comics haven't always been gay. Bunch of freakazoids running around in tights, wearing makeup and shit.
That's wrestling.
You know what?
And they don't want to. They're pretending not to be who they are.
Isn't Silver Surfer technically naked all the time?
Some of them are naked all the time. I don't know. Clobby, did you have anything to add to this portion of it, since that's your area of expertise?
I saw Dukecock's video. I share his. Well, I would share his concern if there was a comic book industry. But
that helps, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I understand where he's coming from, but there's no comic book industry to really worry about anymore. He's just obviously angry because he loves Batman. He grew up loving him as much as I have. He started both of us out on our path to geekness, and you just hate to see this. But this was put out there, that Black Label series. I mean, Batman is really something like 80% of the sales DC even has left. So it means really nothing. There are a few people who still buy some of those books, but they did this so they can get some ink. They did it so that people will talk about it on Twitter, and they please a few, as Dukecock talked about it, a few idiots on Twitter, or a few idiots out there that will be people who don't even buy comics. So it's
a bunch of virtue signaling. Yeah,
they'll please their peers too, Clobby, and you know that. Yeah. I'm sure you and I have talked about them many times. They're writing it to please each other. They're not pleasing the industry because no one.
These people actually think that in 20. No, these people think is in 20 years from now, they'll be sitting on some, either featurette or documentary, and they'll be sitting there getting to praise themselves because they were the one who made Batman gay.
They'll be the
Yeah, I
ones
guess.
That's
doing
what they
that.
think. They think 20 years from now they are going to be praised and treated like Martin Luther fucking King because they allowed Batman to suck some cock.
Yep. Oh, straight up. It's they like that outcome, or the other outcome that they like is if we burn it all down successfully, it's just one step closer towards, we ruined my patriarchy.
Well, I don't think Zaslav, this isn't even on Zaslav's level. I mean, I get what you guys are saying, like them just acting out because they know they're going to probably shut down DC Comics or whatever, but
Just please.
No, they're going to license it off to other
yeah, well,
publishers.
that's what I'm saying is they'll shut down their comics division and just license out the characters. Exactly. Yeah.
Good riddance. I mean, look, they've done this to half. I think it just seems like it, man, but they've done this to half the Justice League right now. No, I didn't see the comic. Nick did. So what he's saying, it sounds like it was pretty nebulous anyway. They were just trying to put some insinuations in there, but it wouldn't matter if they came out and said it in that comic. It would mean nothing. It's not legit Batman. He's nobody's Batman. So I'm surprised it was even Bruce Wayne at this point. Didn't they change him? Isn't he? And half the comics, he's someone else now, or whatever.
I don't even know
It's been
anymore,
like
to be
4
honest.
years trying to make Batman not Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even before that, they used to do
I say,
it.
wasn't he, last I knew, wasn't it like Lucius Fox's son? Yeah,
like
exactly. Like, so.
Well, that's the way they got away with
Batman for a bit there.
It's the way they got away with the Superman story, saying everyone Superman is gay when they meant it was his son. They just said it. They just said Superman. You saw those stories in the press a couple months back. Superman is gay. They didn't say Superman.
Yeah, it was Jonathan Kent or
You read the fine
because
print.
they know, and they did that on purpose because they know if they said Superman's son, it would have not gotten the same type of attention. That was done. They needed the word Superman, and once again, it just goes to show you how invested, quotation marks, invested they are in these characters. They don't have the confidence to say Superman's son, because if they really did, they could really go all the way with it, but they don't.
This goes all the way back, actually,
in their own shit.
I mean, they're kind of adopting the old kind of carnival trick that the comic book industry used to do, like when they tried to kill off Robin, and the fucking media freaked the fuck out, and that's because everybody hit the headlines were Batman sidekick Robin killed in comic books. They didn't tell you it was Jason fucking Todd.
Exactly.
The one that nobody liked, or was it Tim Drake? I can't even remember.
It
was Jason Todd. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure I was right.
That's the whole story. That Jason is dead. Then they did Death of Superman in the 90s. They've had Batman dying, and they put it out in the news.
And Superman's death. The death of Superman was the same thing. It was not meant to be as big of a deal as it was. It was just meant to get them from point A to B because they had to kill some time because they were trying to sync it up with the show or whatever it was at the time. Lois and Clark. I know you know more about this.
They were trying to sync it up with the wedding show.
Well, they did it with Captain America, Human Torch.
I remember after they did that, I remember going to my local comic book store and waiting what day was that? Was that Tuesday or Wednesday? Waiting for my bag to show up.
I think at the time it was Tuesday.
Waiting for my next bag to show up.
It used to be Tuesday
to see what happened next. I did that for like 3 or 4 weeks.
Thursday back then, but yeah,
or Thursday.
I think it was Wednesday or Thursday back then, right, Clobby?
It was Thursday if you talk about 90s, but
because I believe movies were Tuesday, comics were Thursday, and new music was usually Fridays. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then the Friday they moved it to Tuesday, and then the last 6-7 years they brought it back to Fridays.
When do they do free comic day or whatever?
Comics is Wednesdays now, but they let distributors, the comics shops now get their comics on Tuesdays, so you can go look at your folder, but you can't buy them until Wednesday.
And then we got another super chat here from Adam Wolford. Thank you so much. Says it kind of sounds like how we haven't gotten a BattleTech live action movie or other animated series. There are so many companies have the rights to it. That probably is the case. That's not a
that's hardest part for BattleTech, and I know this because I pitched it, is that whenever you show them footage from the video game and stuff, every executive goes, looks kind of slow, not exciting for robots shooting at each other. And I mean, they're not wrong, but the concept for BattleTech is the strategy, not the action.
Also, you got people involved now with the people who make BattleTech after what they did to Blaine Pardoe. Assuming Adam knows who Blaine Pardoe is. I mean, if you don't, Adam, straight up look up Razor Fist's interview with Blaine Pardoe. He's the guy who basically got canceled by one of the companies who's developing modern battle tech, and he had a stalker for the last 2 years, and basically her complaints, which were all false and apparently proven to be false, still got him canned for her actions. So I don't think these type of companies are, well, we're not in the age of, let's just say, getting the right type of BattleTech movie. We might as well just live with our
Honestly-
imaginations.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say also the fact we have to take into account the real story of BattleTech. If you remember the old books, is the whole political side of it. Between the clans, between the inner circle, the outer circle. It's like that kind of relationship was more important than actually the mechs themselves. That's why, if you read the books, most of the action was derived not necessarily from the fights between the BattleTech units, but more when they were inside the palace trying to kill the prince, or inside of a damn fortress, or some kind of story like that. So I feel it's more that people don't understand.
I think more of it, well, as far as us not getting any movies, I think script's more right, obviously, because Hollywood, I'll tell you why. If there was ever going to be a chance for us to get one, it went out the window when Pacific Rim came out. That's the way
There's
studios
that.
look at shit.
I mean, the other part too is take a look at Battleship. That was their take on adapting the
Another
board
one,
game.
yeah.
It's like it needs to, when it comes to action and it comes to technology and robots and stuff, it needs to have a pretty fun, inhuman pace of action to it. And BattleTech is not designed for that. It's far more on the political side of things, as Diego said. It's far more on the characters and what they're trying to do, which on the surface is great, but for film, that's not going to work. You might be able to pull it off for, say, like a mini series on streaming, like a high budget Game of Thrones type of thing. But you really have to pick the right moment in time, the best characters from that point, and make the fact that it's robot fights the least important thing or least fun thing about the show. And that's going to be hard because the robots on the covers is what gets you interested, and then the world is what keeps you hooked. So
yeah, if they're gonna do something, it would be better to do it with heavy gear, because heavy gear, like the mech fighting and all that, was always fast paced. Be it the video games, be it the board game, it was more like you move fast, you hit hard, and you move away fast.
Yeah. Michael Gonzalez changes the topic here a little bit, but this actually gets us to our next topic, and I know Six is chomping at the bit to get to this because she never finished watching it. It was 90s fun, not 20s woke. She-Hulk showrunner Gao wrote Pickle Rick and was the executive store editor for 5 more Rick and Morty episodes. Farewell and Salanea. Am I saying that right?
Solenea.
Salanea. Thank you, Michael Gonzalez. Yeah, we're gonna give our reactions to Hulk here in just a few minutes for those who have seen it. Trenchman says, so far She-Hulk doesn't suck, but oh dear, her CGI. Considering how decent in some shots the Hulk looked, I was a little upset by that, yeah. But we'll get into all that. Dash Attack says, hello from Jersey Shore. Well, hello. For those who don't know, Embracer Group has been buying up game developers like no tomorrow. Square sold them Tomb Raider. Oh, so they also have Tomb Raider under their belts?
Yeah, that was recently.
That's, I think, when I brought that up, is they're
phenomenon.
just, these guys are just becoming IP farms is what they're doing, yeah.
Yeah.
But no. It's like not only IP farms, because they said it. They want to sort of bring back the old style of Tomb Raider before Square got it. So they want to see what they can bring.
Well, that's what they're saying on the surface level. But my point is that these companies see the future, and the future is IPs. To be able to license out all these different characters and stuff to different avenues, whether it's a movie, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a video game they're making themselves. But I mean, obviously that would synergize with whatever else is going on. And they want to be able to control it, I think, instead of them licensing shit from the studios. Because how often does that work out? Yeah. Because I think that show, I even made the point, when was the last time we had a movie video game that was actually worth a shit? And most people said like Spider-Man 2, and we're talking way back when, Spider-Man 2.
Diego, do you know, I have a question for Diego. Do you
Please.
know who owns Electronic Arts? Because they were looking for a buyer a few months ago.
EA.
I think, I mean, Electronic Arts, I think, hasn't changed hands right now.
Okay.
And
I was
let me
just wondering if that was part of.
No, but Embracer tries to be as far away from EA as possible, because EA, and also Activision Blizzard are basically poison apples.
Oh,
You
okay.
buy them, you're basically saying, "I want to die."
Okay.
Mm.
Well, that's a good sign for this company, I guess. And then Trenchman says, it's hot as hell in here. James Sunderland. I don't know if I did the voice right, but there you go. And then Jesus Davila says, for Scripps Gamer PC Fund. Problem is, he won't let me send him any money.
Yeah.
Then send them
Yeah,
the
he's
PC
not-
instead of the money.
I'm not getting any of that.
He won't let me. It's not that I'm not giving it. He just won't.
Yep.
I've tried paying him. We got Elf here, Mikey.
Right,
What,
Mike?
Tom?
Oh Jesus, go ahead.
I am going woke. My pronouns are Mikey's Nightmare. Ha 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 ha. Who doesn't address me as such? Mexican Iron Man will be forced to watch one episode of Elf or reboot series for each misgenderment. Dun dun dun. So for Mike's sanity, do not fuck up. From now on, Elf's pronouns are Mikey's Nightmare. Keep that in mind. Adam Wilford says, yeah, I heard the company sided with Stalker. Who's Stalker? And I don't think you should side with any stalkers. Stalkers are bad. I'm assuming Stalker is the name of a video game company.
No. What they mentioned about the guy who was doing the whole BattleTech thing and the company
Oh,
Harebrained Schemes, the ones that did the BattleTech video game, sided with the crazy person.
oh, for reals? Like I was kidding. Holy shit.
Yep.
I just figured it was a clever name for a video game company. I don't know.
No.
There's 500,000 video game companies. I have no idea.
But there is a game that's titled Stalker, but it's an FPS, and in Chernobyl, if I'm not mistaken.
What you just said sounds like you might as well have been speaking Spanish, brother.
What's an FPS?
Exactly. I know what
First
frames per
person
second.
shooter.
That's
Oh,
first person shooter,
okay.
yeah. And then according to Adam, EA is a publisher. EA doesn't make games. There you
Anymore.
go. And then Jack White says, script buy a Nintendo Switch or a PS4.
Yes,
So that
please.
means, is a Ghostbuster game going to be on those?
I'm not buying anything because I'm only going to buy them for one game. That's a terrible investment.
It's a terrible investment.
Buy it for Pokemon. I can teach you.
Who wants to play that? Jack White says, speaking of mech, have you guys ever checked out Gundam and the Big O Gurren Lagann? Clearly I haven't, or
Okay.
can't even say it.
Wait,
And Full
there's
Metal
many
Panic.
series. It's
Yeah.
Mobile Suit Gundam, Big O, Gurren Lagann, Full Metal Panic.
Big O I've seen.
They're good series, but they're different kinds of series in the fact that, for example, Gurren Lagann and Big O are from the super robot thing, like Massinger.
I haven't
Well,
seen a Big
Gundam-
O in years, but if I try hard enough, she might be able to go real hard.
I would say Gundam and Full Metal are the robot genre, and they're good. They're militaristic, so they have potential for a TV show and a series. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Netflix is gonna do a live adaptation, mixing it with CGI, but I'm not
Big
sure
O?
on that one.
Well,
On the
thank
Gundam
God
one.
you guys are here because I have no idea what most of these are. I know what
Me neither.
Gundam is, and that's about it.
Yeah, don't worry. Even though Gurren Lagann would be one you would love, Tom. It's like
Is-
over the top 80s.
Yeah, but I gotta ask: is this really a dad joke, though? Maybe Human. That was pretty risque for a dad joke. Yeah,
Well,
maybe.
Yeah, so technically every joke he makes.
True.
Yeah,
This
so-
is true. Jack White, when I see these SJWs and what they advocate for, I think of the cycle of pain from Naruto. Another thing I
Another
don't really
reference.
watch. Yeah, but I know what Naruto is. Ironcaster says somehow Brian Setzer's firing small potatoes. Yeah, isn't that funny how that happened this morning? We were talking about that before the show. Not that it's really something we would talk about, per se, on the show, but we all had a giggle through that one. That bald-headed little prick needed to go years ago anyway.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
who
he's
was that guy?
he's the guy who's been the head of CNN for what, like the last 10
Yeah,
years
right.
or so?
Is
No,
he the
he's
guy
had a
who
show
pulled
on
his dick
CNN.
out?
He's not the head of CNN.
Oh, he's not? Okay. I'm
No,
not
he's
the
just
head, but
like-
To
the
be fair, he is a big
the
bald
lead
head.
correspondent guy or
He-
whatever he is.
He's the
He was-
lead opinion. He's a lead editorial.
He has his own
pundit.
show. He's like
Yeah.
He's
the
supposed to be an anchor, but he's an
Lemon,
opinion
Lemon
maker.
guy and all those other pundits
Yeah.
on there. It's nothing. He lost his job in his segment.
Yeah.
He was never big to begin with, aside from his waistline.
I thought he had like some higher up position too, but I
Nope.
guess I was wrong.
No, if you
Yeah.
listen, if you're on CNN and you're on TV, you are a low rung tier person on CNN. All the higher ups never go on camera.
Gotcha.
I have a
Trenchman.
question,
Yeah, go ahead, Diego.
Is it the guy with the creepy smile on CNN?
Yeah, who looks
Okay.
like
Be
he's
more
80,
specific.
but he's
Yeah.
35 with a super bald head. Yes.
Like if George
Okay.
Costanza
It's
had a creepy
CNN,
brother,
dude.
yes.
Okay, yes,
Yes.
that. Now I
Yeah,
know who you're
that's
talking
it.
about.
The guy looks 40 years older than he actually is.
Yes. And he's looked like that forever. Trenchman says ADA, wait, Leon S. Kennedy. I have no idea what these quotes are from. These got to be like
No, it's
anime.
not ADA. It's ADA. It's
This is
from
what I'm
Resident
talking
Evil.
about. See, I don't play video games. If it doesn't have Pac in the title or Super Mario something, I don't know what the hell it is.
Me too, dude. Me too.
Get
Or
a
Cor-
Switch.
well-
I will give you all the Mario games, Tom.
I am not
Wait.
switching my gender.
Not
used to play
that. God damn it, Tom.
I used to play Madden a lot till they ruined it, but other than that, yeah, I don't play video games.
I do play some, but nothing like I don't get into the. The last time I got sucked into a video game, I got 2 years behind in work, and I'm still behind. And that was Red Dead Redemption 2.
Well, technically, also before that was Cobra Kai.
Well, I played that that was after. That I just bop in and out. That's one of those games you can just kind of play whenever. It's like a arcade.
Yeah,
game.
same like the Ninja Turtles one that just came out.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Same difference. Yeah, exactly. See, those kind of games I don't mind because then I can just bop in and out whenever when I got some time. But like something like Red Dead will get me so sucked into it that I can't not see the ending. Like it bugs me.
Wait, there's-
Jack, go ahead.
No, I think there's a Streets of Fury game even that's like one of those like you can play. Very 80s style.
Script, if you get a PS4, says Jack White, buy Uncharted. He said he's not getting one. But anyway, series originally Last of Us, Spider-Man, and the Digimon Cyber Sleuth games and Persona series. So there's some recommendations if you change your mind. Script
I've
from
got
Jack.
a Wii and an Xbox 360 and a classic Nintendo, and all they do is collect dust right now. Why
I'm
would I
surprised
want
you even have a Wii, to be honest with you.
I
Script,
found
weren't
it in my dad's things when he died, after he passed away. He used it for exercise.
Oh,
Script,
wow.
what were you playing? Weren't you playing Shredder's Revenge with Tom?
Yeah, that's on the PC.
Oh, it was on PC. Okay.
Yeah, but that thing's like small as shit.
Yeah,
Like it's tiny.
It was a fun game.
Oh, yeah. It's built just like the old games. Stars says the Nemesis, according to Trenchman. I'm sorry if I'm not doing these right.
It's
You can
again
call me
Resident Evil.
Trenchman.
I'm not good at this shit no more. I don't know the video games or the animes, but I do know the She-Hulks at least enough to watch the first episode. So let's see here. Who watched She-Hulks?
I
Not
did.
me. I'm out of this one.
Not me.
Prasad.
I want to hear it though.
I did.
Yeah, I did.
Well,
I
since
watched how
six,
excited we are.
let's start with 6 because this was something you were semi-excited for. It seemed like.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So yesterday in the Midnight Edge After Dark chat, there was talk about what we were going to talk about, and Tom said, "Yeah, maybe we're going to talk about She-Hulk," and I was all butthurt because I was excited to talk about it, and then I heard of Embracer Group at midnight this morning and forgot all about She-Hulk until not that long ago, and then I watched part of it, and it was terrible. I didn't love it. But I know that they had to jam a lot into the pilot, like they typically do with pilots. The CGI was terrible. I do love Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner Hulk. I don't like Smart Hulk. It wasn't very good.
you got anything like what
Sour
drove
grapes.
you off the show though? Like what made you quit watching it?
Well, I was effing tired. I need because I work third shift, so and then I was on Pop Culture Minefield today, and so I had to get some sleep at some point.
So it just wasn't grabbing your interest in
It just didn't grab me, yeah. And I know I'm gonna sit down and watch it again and actually try to pay attention. And I think it's just not my purview.
Daramuth asked if I saw the Chatos video on the Hulk. I did actually. And it sounds I mean he basically made a lot of the points that Six just had made about it being a pilot episode and some other things. I thought he did a pretty fair video on it. But I'm sure we'll talk to it about him. Was it a little bit about that with him tomorrow morning? Blah. So tune in for the morning show if you want to hear his more in-depth takes on it. Let's go to Nick. What did you think of the show?
Okay, let me figure out where do I start here with this show. So, right off the bat, Tatiana Maslany as Jennifer Walters is straight up insufferable. She is not Jennifer Walters. Jennifer Walters is outgoing. She's the type of lady people want to be around and hang around. She's such a fun, she's the person who lights up the room type of personality. And this Jennifer Walters is someone who clearly is reveling in victimhood. And she emphasizes on that a lot of the time when she's talking to Bruce or talking to the people she works with. Her dialogue was just awful. It was tedious. Now, as for Mark Ruffalo Hulk, I mean, for Mark Ruffalo, it's better than what I've seen out of, I guess you could say, other things, but it's not even Smart Hulk. It's Mark Ruffalo playing Hulk, because I've read Peter David when he did Professor Hulk, which is this is Mark Ruffalo attempting to be Smart Hulk. This is not Smart Hulk. It's Mark Ruffalo being Hulk. So the character is more Mark Ruffalo than it is Hulk. That's all that is on the CG.
Since we're on that, I gotta ask: does anybody else hear that the reason why he was in the Hulk the whole entire time is so they didn't have to spend the money on having Mark Ruffalo on screen? He could just do the voice after the fact, and they probably had a stand-in. Anybody else think that's probably the case?
It's possible. I
maybe, but the standard procedure for Mark is that he wears a motion capture suit and they film him.
Okay, so he may have been there. All right. Anyway, moving on, Nick. Sorry, I just was curious about that because I noticed that he's only Bruce for like one scene, and then after that, he's always the Hulk.
Yeah, it's the crash after crash, and I don't like that they changed the origin, and we know why they changed the origin, which we all know that happened. Really dumb that they changed that origin. Seeing it play out, like I had already known going into it, I was not happy with that, but seeing it actually happen was somehow even worse. And I was already prepared, so I thought, okay, I already let my frustration out, but seeing it happen, I'm like, wow, this is even worse than how it sounded. And then the obsession with Captain America and sex, people are always like, especially the alphabet community, they say, oh, we just hate it when they're talking about, gays or bis having sex. I didn't want to hear about straight people and who they're fucking. And they were going on and on about who Captain America is fucking in the 40s. I don't care who he was. Yeah. I want to know what Captain America was doing as a hero. A straight white male. And I still don't care.
I actually didn't like that shit, and we did make a point of that because that's what the one writer was like just obsessed with. It's like, clearly that's where the shit comes from. Oh, but I can't lie that I didn't get a chuckle out of the answer.
I mean, the answer actually reinforces my entire high school part-time job working at a continuing care center, which is that while the public may have said, oh, no, people saved themselves from marriage, they did way more boning each other than you ever thought. The 60s was really just them advertising it. It was the same. It literally was.
Oh, I've seen vintage porn.
I'm not talking about porn. I'm just talking about the frequency with which, like, if you're dating in high school, you are sleeping with whomever you're dating with.
Where do you think the baby boom came from, for fuck's sake? No, I know what you're saying. I'm just picking on it. No, but like, so Script, what was your reaction to the show?
Not a great pilot. Felt more like a prologue. They kind of did get the initial Stan Lee take of Jennifer Walters at the beginning. She's arrogant, she's mousy, she's presumptuous. That's why she gets shot and Bruce Banner has to save her. One of the things that it's got some jokes here and there. I understand her want, which is the fact that she constantly pushes back against Bruce Banner, saying, I'm not a superhero, I want to be a lawyer, that's what I went to school for, that's what I want to pay my bills for. She's doing really holding on to that refusal of the call, even though there's really no consequences or stakes, which I thought was really lacking from the pilot. I wanted something at stake for her to challenge her a little bit, but that's why this is more of like a prologue to the actual pilot.
I that's one of the few parts that Script mentioned that I didn't think was bad. Was I that makes logical sense. You have a life routine, you want it, and you're used to that, especially when you work so hard. I can empathize with that part, but on the whole, with Jen's personality, and especially I feel like they were taking Jennifer Walters' character and trying to make her more like Bruce Banner's actual Hulk, and we're getting shades of it in this pilot. Like, I feel like she's eventually gonna go full Hulk in terms of her personality, and instead it'll be she. And obviously, they made references to the She-Hulk names of the books with
Sensational
the
and Savage.
Savage
Yeah.
said the sensational Jennifer Walters
Oh, I hated Nick.
instead.
It was terrible.
Oh, and
That
then when they
50-year-old
said
woman pretending to be
Savage,
25.
Savage Jen Walters, I'm like, ugh.
Oh,
And then they
God.
said Jennifer Walters, attorney at law. And when I heard her name mentioned 3 times in those variations, I thought to myself, okay, maybe I'm going way too conspiratorial, but are they seriously afraid to say She-Hulk right now because of very obvious identity politics? So they're just gonna say everything with adjective, but with Jen Walters, or description, but with Jen Walters, instead of just saying She-Hulk.
Well,
You
I
mean
think
like
what they're trying to
make
do is they're
She-Hulk?
trying to keep Jennifer Walters holding on to her core identity as opposed to embracing the fact that she's now got this She-Hulk thing about her. Like, again, it's all part of the refusal of this. I'm wondering if they're actually going to explore some of the stuff that they did in the early 80s where Jennifer realizes that her She-Hulk persona it's not really her. It's just a bit more aggressive, a less inhibited version of her. Because when she's Jennifer Walters, she goes back to, a little bit more frail, a little bit more averse, a little bit more reserved. And then when she's She-Hulk even remarks, I don't want to be that mousy person anymore. I feel better like this. This is why I prefer to be in the She-Hulk form. And I'm hoping that this show would explore that journey where she realizes that she likes herself better in green as opposed to her normal self. And
I think
and
the
that then
trailers
goes
have kind
back
of
into
teased
what
that. Yeah.
that goes back into what Bruce is trying to teach her in Mexico, which is that you gotta figure this out better than what you have. You have to listen to what he's saying because and I like the fact that he admits that, okay, we're in new territory here, but we're seeing some overlap between his journey and she is just going back into her character flaw. She's arrogant and resistant, and all she wants to do is get back to the life that she's worked for. And the other part too, she fails the lessons that Bruce is teaching her, all of them, to the point where she breaks his bar and she has to fix it. That's a good sign there. But again, I think the ideas are in place, but the execution was kind of really, really lacking. And I can't make a full assessment now because this wasn't really enough of a pilot to get the idea of where the show was going. It was all exhibition about her origin. And the editing in that courtroom scene, even some of the dialogue of the closing statements were absolutely atrocious. So I have to see what the next one is in order to make a better judgment of this. But I hate that Nikki paralegal girl. She is.
Oh, she's even worse than Jennifer Walters.
She looks like she's 50 trying to pass for 25.
Yeah, all those are very valid points. Six, you were going to ask something or say something?
You must have read my mind because I didn't think I'd started yet. What Script had said about she wants to stay being an attorney and live the life that she, went to school for and was working towards. When Bruce Banner, he kind of like put her on that island with him, and I didn't see the whole episode, but she doesn't know, he expects her to take up this hero mantle. And she hasn't experienced. It'd be like, somebody plucking one of us out of our lives.
Just yanking her out of her life, yeah.
And taking us off to an island and saying, you're going to live this life. It's going to be totally different. But he didn't even give her a chance to experience that. What is that like to live a hero's life? How much on a bigger scale can you affect people for the good than you can in the courtroom? So, but I'm going to continue watching.
Yeah, they don't really give you that answer yet in this episode, and that's a good point too. But Clobby, curious what you thought.
Well, Script does make the point that there's only one episode. I thought it was a terrible pilot. I really, actually, I don't know. I thought she was, Nick said it as well. She's insufferable. She's annoying. I can't stand Professor Hulk crap. I didn't like it much in the comics. I think it's really terrible. It was terrible in Endgame. This is Mark Hulkalo now. It's just not my Hulk, the Hulk that I grew up loving. I don't really like that stuff that much. I don't believe that, considering how bad all of the other Marvel shows that I've seen, and I saw all but one of them are, I don't think they've earned the right to do a comedy. I mean, in other words, a comedy might not have been such a bad idea if everything they have been doing has been laughably horrible, such as, Thor Love and Thunder didn't profess to be a comedy, but it was one. Everything's a comedy. So you guys aren't, you have nothing to laugh about because everything you do is so terrible. All the jokes fell flat in this thing. It's not funny. Full disclosure, I was not a big fan of Byrne's Sensational Shield like a lot of people was, or the Savage Shield series before that. Not the biggest fan of the character, but I respected that series. A lot of people really loved it. It was a very well-loved series, the Sensational She-Hulk one that Byrne started. So that's all fine and good. This is them doing a show about that, I think is okay. It's just that they have not done it particularly well so far in this one episode. Again, it's just a bunch of men bad crap, a bunch of third-wave feminist screeds all over it. It's just cringy as it gets. And I actually didn't think the CGI didn't bother me or anything like I thought it would. She looks fine as She-Hulk. I'm fine with that. I don't care about CGI one way or the other if a story is good. But this is the tip of the iceberg. I think it's going to get really cringy from here when we start seeing all these other characters show up. I'm dreading, and I'll watch it all. I will watch it all. I'm dreading seeing Daredevil. Holy.
Oh, they're going to Wade Devil him.
Oh,
they're going to do it. They're going to do it.
They're gonna, and look, by the way, I love the Daredevil that existed for the first 16 years of his history. He was a fun-loving superhero. After that, Miller turned him into a ninja, even though I still love some of the Miller stuff and the darker stuff later. But so I don't mind them putting him in the yellow-red costume. I love Charlie Cox.
I love that costume. I think it's
I love that. And I love Charlie Cox as Daredevil. I'm just worried about what Disney's going to do with it. So he's going to be, I don't mind, even if he's in a lighthearted version of him in this show. But I have a bad feeling as everything is just going to be joke. Men suck, joke, men suck. And I understand that it's a comedy, but just not feeling it. I don't care about this character. I don't care what they do with her.
And that's the other part too. If they go with the men suck thing, that's antithetical to She-Hulk because she hits on all the guys when she's She-Hulk.
She loves hanging out with the guys.
She has a relationship with her next door neighbor.
I mean, I haven't Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Script.
Well, she has a relationship with her next door neighbor who's a few years younger than her and studying to be a doctor. And then on top of that, she's also sleeping with this unlucky blonde guy who like wins $1 billion or something, and bounces between the two of them. And then she hits on
this Wyatt Wingfoot. Wyatt Wingfoot. She hits on the thing. She's all
Wyatt
over.
Wingfoot. She gets hooked up with for a long time.
Right. She's all over the dudes. I mean, that's something. Yeah. She's very similar. And there's another thing. I know it's not the Hulk smash versus the brilliant Bruce Banner type of a dichotomy, but still, the mousy, as you mentioned, Nick, is what the mousy kind of lawyer that Jonathan Walter is, as opposed to when she becomes She-Hulk, she is still not exactly the same person. She is what Script was just talking about. She's outgoing, she's flirtatious, she's gregarious, she's all these things. There are differences between Jen and She-Hulk. That won't be happening in this. She's just going to be Jen, the little pathetic Jen the whole way, probably. I don't know.
I hope not, but yeah, like that. There's always that possibility.
It looks
me personally, I a lot of what you guys are saying. You could pretty much, I could mirror the same things, and that's the thing about this show, at least this first episode so far. And that's what I don't understand is, I thought we were supposed to get like 3 episodes for the first night,
and they should have
helped. And I was just going to say, Script, this is even though we've said this every single time about these shows when they've dropped these Marvel shows, this is the one fucking time where it's like, this proves our goddamn point, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm willing to bet after this first episode, this show is nothing like the first episode. The first episode is all the setup, because we're probably never going to see the Hulk again until near the end.
No, you won't see.
And a lot of people aren't going to come back because they're going to say, well, this pilot was terrible. Whereas if they'd given us a pilot and then the first episode, I think a lot more people, they would have a little bit more time to get invested in the characters.
Maybe.
Very good
but
point.
Going off of what Klobby and Script were both saying here just a few minutes ago, like, here's my issue with this. And I understand where Paul Chato is coming from as well, as this is a sitcom pilot. Okay. But it's also a Marvel show, so it has to do 2 things at once. And the problem you have, like Klobby and you guys were just talking, we have had how many Marvel comedies now? I remember when the only Marvel comedy was Guardians of the Galaxy. And then after that, everything has been joke. I couldn't even defend it anymore because I got to a point where it's like, yeah, you guys are fucking right. At this point, everything's a fucking joke. Like nothing is sacred. Everything has to stop for a punchline. And that's like tenfold in Thor: Love and Thunder, right? So we've hit like peak that point. And okay, if this was She-Hulk coming out and this is the first time they had done something like this, maybe it'd be a little more original. Maybe I could give it a little bit more of a chance to kind of find its footing. But they did the same thing with WandaVision. It started off like a sitcom. So this is not the first time they've even tackled that territory, right? In a way, even Hawkeye started out kind of like a family comedy, one camera kind of show. So we've already kind of had, they've had enough grounds to cover in this area to where this shouldn't feel like this. They should kind of already know what they're up to. And considering I have a feel like this is going to be front loaded with this Hulk, her learning how to be Hulk shit, because she kind of said that right in the intro. Like, let me get you up to speed. Now we're up to speed. Boom, end of the fucking show. That was a mistake. Because I'm like, what the fuck is going to happen here from here on out? Because we have no idea what this show is supposed to be. If going off of what Paul said, if you're supposed to be introducing the idea of what the show is, no characters are supposed to change, all that kind of shit. I understand that. We've talked about that shit a million times over. Problem is, this pilot is not what the show is going to be. We already know this. This show is going to be Ally McBeal with the Hulk in it. We know this part. That is not what this pilot episode was, though. To me, this pilot episode feels like the movie that should have set up the She-Hulk show. We should have gotten a Hulk movie where it was a Hulk team-up movie is what we should have gotten. And I don't even like She-Hulk that much. And those who know, listen, I should have said it before all this. I've never been a huge fan of redundant characters to begin with. She-Hulk's never been one I've understood other than, I'll be honest with you, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. I just figured a lot of people like her just because they like to drool over her, to be honest with you.
That's true. She was
That's
created
for a lot of it. I mean, I
It's-
enjoyed it because it's
she was
the
created
only,
to protect the copyright too. So
it was to protect that copyright, right? But I liked her because it was a stable version of someone with Hulk's powers that could actually talk and not just say Hulk smash. I mean, that's what I kind of really enjoyed about, because I like the Hulk itself, but I mean, it only had like 6 issues at first, and then he went dormant for a while, and then he came back again. And there's logical reasons for that, which is that people dug it, but the writers were thinking, if I can't do anything more than the Hulk then and have him just destroy stuff around property, what's the real point? And it's like, well, you got to then lean on to the Bruce Banner side of things. And that's why throughout the 70s and early 80s, you'd have all these moments where Bruce Banner tries to bridge between himself and the Hulk. And so Hulk can speak more than a couple of sentences at a time. And then it just goes back and forth. And it's that constant, tug of war struggle. With the She-Hulk, even though Stan Lee made it so that he could just retain the copyright, other writers came in and said, listen, we can actually have a person dealing with these powers, but with more of a conscious connection to who they are, and explore that. And that's what they ended up doing to a point. And she ended up being an avatar that went from the Fantastic Four to the Avengers to on her own, exploring a whole bunch of stuff, but finding herself in weird, silly situations with D-list villains, and using her as a proxy to sort of comment on, hey, remember when Marvel was so desperate we had to come up with this guy who dresses up as a robotic elephant? Yeah, let's like address that a little bit using the character of She-Hulk, and she facilitated that. But I don't. As I said before, this was not a pilot. This is a prologue. They try to sell it as a pilot, and that's really bad, because the thing that I was told when I first started getting into the industry and I started submitting stuff is that if you don't know how to write a good pilot, you're never going to accomplish anything writing wise, because you have to know how to do the contained story structure, either a half hour or an hour in length. And because if you understand that story structure, those beats, you can then manipulate them in so many fun and unique ways that actually brings an audience in without having them for wanting of more from that pilot and not willing to invest in the other episode. For this here, it should have been an hour-long show. You had your mid-act breaking point at that trial, and then the tail end would be, is the person that she's prosecuting the reason for some of these superpowered beings that now she has to deal with them as a She-Hulk? Because if that's your premise of the show, you then just have hooked the rest of your audience for the rest of that series.
And I agree with you, Script.
Too early.
And I'll take it one step further with you. They should have done this like they did with Arrow. I'll be honest with you. They should have sprinkled in the Hulk shit throughout the show. They should have presented the show as this, and then her being resistant from the front. We get that idea. She just wants to go back to her real life. You don't need to go through all that other shit. But then as the show goes on, and as you said, she learns she's gonna have to face these other issues. Then at that point, you do a flashback to something that she didn't think was important and realizes, oh shit, that is something that is important now, and then she uses it. Like that's how you could have used that as a better bounce back and forth instead of front loading all this shit in the front. And as I said, I guarantee you we're not going to see Mark Ruffalo Hulk until the end again, if we even see him till at the end.
Well, do you think that's why
he's supposed to be in one more episode?
That's
from
what
what I
that's
heard.
what I
Yeah, one
figured.
more episode. So you're probably right. It's
Because
the
they
finale.
didn't save any of this shit for the later on. They gave everything. That's where people are getting this idea of she's right. She knows everything. She learned everything in 1/3 of the time of the Hulk. You know, all this business.
Well,
They're
that's
giving
what
her
she
a little.
thinks. That's the thing. Like that's
Whoops.
what she.
Sorry about that,
that's what-
Six.
The flaw with Jessica is that's what she thinks because she's the one that's the narrator of this show, and Bruce was telling her no. But because she was leaving, he's like, the door's always open. You can come back. Because they're trying to parallel the Luke Skywalker journey between Yoda, which is I have to go back to my friends, but hers is more selfish. I have to go back to work. And if they do a follow-up with it, there's going to do a little bit of a Return of the Jedi-ish where he's like, Bruce will be like, listen, you kind of learned all the obvious stuff on your journey on your own, so there's nothing more I can teach you in that regards, but let's see what I can teach you in the things that actually matter. And then that's probably how they'll end it off. That way, because she's got to go on this journey of failure. If she doesn't go on a journey of failure, if she goes on being amazing and great, then we've got a Loki 2 situation here. And that's not just a disservice to the character, that's a disservice to Tatiana Maslany, who has gone through these types of things 6 or 7 times in a single show because she played about a dozen different characters. And you need someone that's got that charm and that understanding of arc to do a character like a superhero character like She-Hulk. I'm just because Jessica Gao is quite a clever writer. Like I've never heard any bad things from her, and I don't ever hear her doing stuff on the political side of things as egregious as many other writers from other Disney Marvel shows. However, that might change with responses to this pilot. Hopefully it doesn't. But you gotta. At this point here, I think it was a very bad mistake for Marvel to only drop that first episode. I think if they dropped the first 2 or 3, that would have signaled to the rest of the audience, this is the direction we're going with the show. Now that you know the exposition, now that you know the plot, now that you know the stakes, and you know what these characters are and their roles, now we can see them to their end. Yeah, they screwed up, I think, in that part here. And then the other part too is no Marvel show, when you're dealing with superheroes, should ever be 30 minutes. Just hour and nothing more or less.
Well, and again, and that takes me back. Okay, fine. If you were going to do a sitcom thing, if this was the first time you had done this, no big deal. But it's not, and I agree with you, Script. It's not working in that sitcom kind of way.
The parts where it was supposed to be funny were so unfunny. I actually forgot it was trying to be funny.
It did make me chuckle from time to
That's
time.
how funny it was for me. Like,
and I didn't hate it, but and I see Holy Hand Grenade giving me some shit about being passionate. Well, here's the thing: I get passionate about anything in entertainment, and I get more passionate when something pisses me off because I actually get somewhat invested in it. And here's the other side of it: I may not like She-Hulk, but the Hulk is in like my top 3 or if not 5 at least favorite superheroes.
Yeah.
So like that is one of those things, and Hulk is constantly gotten a fucking shaft in the last 20 years here, it seems like. So anyway, you were going to say something. It sounded like it was either Clobby or Diego.
I was just going to say, I would just agree with you. He's in my top 10, one of my favorite characters, and that's why I can't stand the way they've handled him in the MCU for a while now. And but I never cared for She-Hulk, but I was willing to, I guess, again, as I said, it maybe a comedy wouldn't be such a bad thing if everything wasn't a joke in their Marvel MCU now. But this one was extremely unfunny. The Captain America stuff, I'm like, you know what? Screw you with the Cap jokes. It's not funny because we know it's coming from a crappy place. It's not coming from like
they hate
it's
what
coming from a
came
disrespectful
before.
place.
They hate what came before, and that's why they kept. It's this is what the second or third show where they're shitting on the characters.
They shit all over Captain America.
Yeah,
Endgame did too.
Well, they still could have made it a cute, funny joke without making it weird. That's the problem. They had to make it weird. It couldn't have just been because the part at the end, if that was all it was, like after the credits, then I would have been fine with it. I would have thought it was funny. But the problem is you have this thing where she talks about it like 4 or 5 times throughout the fucking show.
This sucks.
Oh yeah.
She's obsessed with it.
Was it that many times? I remember it in the car, and then I only remember it again at the end.
I thought she brought it up one other time
I
too.
thought it was. I only
think
remember the
3
beginning and the
times.
end.
I mean, I was being a little hyperbolic.
There may have been
there,
another
but
one. Yeah.
still.
No, I hear
If
you.
there was
may have
another
been.
one, I missed it because I only remember.
I thought she
because-
brought it up in the bar scene, and then basically that end bit was
No,
supposed
that
to
was
be
all
like
talk-
later on that night.
No,
I
the,
thought,
the
but
bar scene was all about Tony Stark. Both of them, actually.
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
So I think it was just a bookended joke.
Well, no, because she talks about, oh, but that ass. That was all in the same
Yeah,
joke.
she
That
that's
was the
right.
same
She
joke,
did talk
yeah.
about his
Okay,
ass.
okay.
It was a little gross how she seemed really invested in popping his cherry.
True.
A
It's
full
just-
grown woman interested in it was just. It
Yeah,
kind of
but I
turned me off.
remember coming out of Winter Soldier and all the women talking about how much they'd want to sleep with Captain
Well,
America. after
and
that
like I said,
helicopter
if it
scene.
was just a joke like they got on the topic when they were drunk, fine. But she brought it up in the car before. I swear there was like she had some diagram or something like that. That was at the end.
That
though,
was in
no,
the that was from
in the
the
fucking
the
credits. Or
credit
whatever.
scene with like one of the animations. I'm wondering. I mean, if I was to do that and they said, okay, you have to make a joke about her obsession with Captain America's virginity, I would actually incorporate it to the fact that she believes Cap had love, and someone was saying otherwise, and she wanted to make a bet, and then she reached out to Bruce to try and confirm her bet so she could win like $50 or something of that nature. Because then I can understand her obsessing over it from Bruce because she's like, I want this money, I want to prove this idiot person that's in my circle incorrect. Give me something, and that's why she. I mean, that explains it to me. At least that's how I would have done it. But no, there's something else going on there that
It just seemed a little
It's
off.
basically
to me.
not. Even when they're
It's-
trying to be funny, it's just not a funny comedy to me, and just more annoying than anything else. Just
I
for me.
I
it
think
doesn't
it's,
have the charm that it needs.
No, and that's what Jennifer Walter is. She is a very charming, wonderful personality
Yeah.
to be around. People love being around her. You don't see her. You don't see
In her
that Jennifer
She-Hulk
Walters on this
persona, yeah.
show, especially in her She-Hulk personality. You
Yeah.
see what they're doing is they're taking bits and pieces of Bruce Banner's actual Hulk personality, and they're slowly injecting more of that into her character persona instead. And I'm sure we're going to see more of it amplify as the weeks progress. I am very confident they're doing that. That way they can say, hey, here's your World War Hulk movie or whatever, but except it's gonna be with She-Hulk instead, because they can use the rights of that character but give her that story arc instead.
Mhm.
So it'll be
Marvel's
both
getting
the-
closer and closer to being able to get Hulk.
I was just
on
going to
rights
say,
back.
I heard something about that, even though
And-
some of us thought that they already got the Hulk back. That's not until next year, but you were going to
It's
say
not until
something
next
6.
year.
yeah, I think it's different being attracted to someone and being interested in them because they're a virgin. And that's the difference that I
Well,
see.
I think
but
that's just one aspect of it because
Well,
here's the other
reverse
thing
the
that I would
roles.
do.
If it was some guy trying to cruise on some virgin chick, they'd be freaking out about it.
exactly.
There's that, but
Oh,
here's
you
the
know
other
that.
part too. Let's say Jennifer's going through her things in Bruce Banner's like thing in room or whatever. She's getting herself settled in, and Bruce notices a couple of pictures of Steve Rogers, and then realizes that she's got like an album of various Steve Rogers poses that have been taken either from like cell phone footage or whatnot. She's like, you're obsessed with Steve Rogers, like he's super hot, and I hope he's good in bed or something of that nature, because that is. You get women out there that are like that. You get men out there that are like that. That just kind of obsess
Oh,
over a
of course.
celebrity and
Horn
have
dogs
their
are out
fantasies.
there.
Yeah, you're
And-
right.
You mean that's how you kind of want to play with those types of jokes if you want to address that type of subject. You have to really show that it's more of a character flaw with the character that's obsessed, as opposed to just a tongue-in-cheek joke of using that character as an avatar for the writers in the room to get out their
Exactly.
own stuff.
Because your version of it sounds much more plausible considering the type of character they're presenting her in this show. Like her having, like you said, a bet with somebody and she just wants to prove that guy wrong. That sounds more like plausible than somebody being obsessive over that shit is just weird.
Obsessive over the one trait, as opposed to
Yeah.
thinking like he's a super hot, dreamy guy. He's Captain America. He's the perfect soldier, the perfect gentleman. Is he the perfect lover? I mean, and then
There's no way he hasn't gotten laid, kind of thing. Exactly. Tiger Valley 62 sends in 14 South African rands and says Tomb Raider really needs some love, man. I think Tomb Raider is loved by quite a few people. But it does need some love when it comes to an adaptation, I would say. I know some people
Endgame.
they say, yeah, some people like the last adaptation all right. But I just don't understand why they just haven't done a TV series with it yet, especially in the streaming. Like, it makes total fucking sense.
I can explain that. because Crystal Dynamics was sort of has been in this sort of like slump, right? So Square Enix, when they owned them, decided to basically every single property that sucks in sales, they sort of put it on ice. They try to forget about it. That's usually the fate of every like Square Enix IP, be it their own or be it from a minor studio. So when Embracer bought it, it basically means there's new life for it, because that means they could actually do things with it and not be, dependent on, oh, the game didn't sell, but the IP is good. We can do a TV show, we can do a movie.
And that was probably good news that they killed the sequel to that movie that just came out then, huh? Means they're probably going to do something different.
I heard they're going to do a reboot with the same actress.
That's what I heard. Oh, are they going to bring her back? Because I heard that sequel got killed, so yeah.
Like, it's not a sequel. It's basically like they're going to reboot it.
Yeah.
But that was before Embracer bought it. So
well, see, that's what I was like. I was hearing that, yeah, like that sequel is dead. Because I thought I heard that from the actress herself. In general, like she said she wasn't playing it anymore or something like that. I could be wrong though, but I'm not that invested to really give a shit. So
can I read something from a Variety article that
sure.
And I can't seem to find my way back to StreamYard to share the article. I apologize.
That's all right.
This is an interview with the show writer, the She-Hulk show writer.
For She-Hulk.
Yeah, She-Hulk.
Jessica Gao?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And this is from, I think it's the 16th. The question is, one thing that comes up in the premiere is Jennifer repeatedly grills Bruce about whether Steve Rogers is a virgin. How did you pitch that to Kevin Feige? Her response is, we just started putting it in scripts. There used to be a season-long runner where the thing that is constantly gnawing away at Jen is this question of whether or not Steve Rogers had ever had sex. You just regularly see her Googling it, talking about it. You got the sense that she was just constantly pestering people in her life. This question that was burning away at her soul. I can't describe to you how thrilled and shocked I was that not only was Kevin on board with answering the question, that he supplied me with the canon answer. So it seems like from the writer's perspective, She-Hulk was obsessed, whether it necessarily reflected in the show, how many scenes it was mentioned in there. It's that something that she put into the character was that she was obsessed with Steve Rogers.
Yeah, and that's what I brought up the other day when you presented this to me, Six, and that's kind of what I put in Twitter too, is this is what's wrong with Hollywood right now. And it clearly shows in this show. In fact, even if it was only twice in the show, it felt like a lot more. That's the problem. And it's because of this shit.
Long scenes. Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like, that entire car scene is primarily all it's about. And it's like a 90-second scene. And then the bar stuff at the end is... she's just talking about that butt and everything, and it's so focused on her. It's definitely hits notes. But if that's something that they were running through the entire series, and we don't hear of it again for the rest, because again, that end credit scene gives us your in-canon answer.
It gets the answer, yeah.
Then it's clearly shown that, okay, he liked it, but he said, we're pulling this out of the rest of the show because it's probably not resonating with as strong as you think.
Yeah, well, it comes off
so
creepy already.
If we don't see the next few episodes, then that's probably the last of it.
Well, Script, considering that end credit thing, maybe she has one of those fucking charts at home. If in one of the episodes we see her tearing down that goddamn chart or something, oh my God, like seriously.
Like answer found, or maybe she's posting it on message boards or
mystery
YouTube.
Solved.
Yeah,
I believe.
Mystery solved. Or who's the girl? Like, that's probably the next obsession. Who was the girl from the 1943?
What the hell happened?
We lost 6 again.
6. What happened? I think she hit the wrong button.
She'll be back.
I think she hit the wrong button. She meant to probably close out of the thing she was on.
The Variety article.
Yeah, that's my guess. I have a feeling she'll be back. But while we're waiting for her, let's go to Elf again, who sends in $2, Mikey.
For God's sake, I just got back to the stream.
Only reason to watch She-Hulk for me? Rule 34. Ha ha.
What's Rule 34?
That means anything you can think of, there's already a porn.
Oh. I'm sure
there she is.
Well, I am a blonde, so I've
we figured what you did. We figured out what you did.
I was going to say, for Mike, the Rule 34 states, if it exists, there's porn of it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's Rule 34.
Makes sense. Disturbing.
Yeah.
It's quite sad, actually.
But accurate.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, I think there is already a She-Hulk porn. Mecha J says, what do you guys think of the recent claims that She-Hulk is getting negative review bombed, given that there has been just as many positive reviews? Isn't it funny how everything gets review bombed now? And I mean everything.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the negative post about my new OnlyFans page? Golly, man, someone's really
That got
it out.
review bombed to hell.
I mean, if you want to get technical with it, the people who are giving it 10 out of 10s, they're review bombing too. So
I know that's the whole fucking irony.
That's
This
the
goes
contrast,
all the way
though.
back to,
I mean,
to fucking Ghostbusters and shit. Yeah.
in a way, they're right, but it's just not like they're still review bombing. That they won't call it that though, because it sounds like a negative connotation when they're giving a positive review. So they gotta spin it in a way and make it only sound like it's only a review bomb when it's bad. So they're like, yeah, if you actually like scroll through if you actually scroll through some of the reviews and actually read the credit, now if it just says crap, 0 out of 10, I mean,
That's
I
technically
can
a
see
review
why.
bomb.
Yeah,
Because
technically
it's only
a review
single
bomb.
word.
But if you're saying, this is not Jennifer Walters' personality, there's no there's the dialogue is really, really unfunny. There's nothing funny about it. If you had a really thought out like essay, I guess you could say, I feel like that is not a review bomb. That's just someone who says, okay, I didn't like this show. I give like a 5 or 5.5 out of 10. Not my score, just being, pretending here with that. I wouldn't really call that a review bomb. But if you're saying best show ever, and then you look at the user's history, and they show 10, 10, 10 for every MCU show, well, hey, you just got a review bomber right there.
Well, we just saw reverse review bombing the other day. I can't believe nobody called them out on it more than me and a couple other people. I think Quartering, maybe a few other people did, but like they had that stupid reboot show of League of Their Own.
Yes.
You literally had the cast and the fucking writers and shit out there begging for good reviews because they were claiming it was being review bombed. I'm like, first of all, people have to give a shit about your show. They don't. Secondly, chances are those who are watching it aren't liking it because people adored the original. So guess what? You can't even call them istophobes. The first League of Their Own is one of the most well-beloved films of the 90s. Give us a fucking break. You're full of shit.
To it in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, give me a fucking break on this shit. No wonder, of course nobody's gonna like a fucking reboot of something that's that beloved. Give me a whoa. And then all of a sudden now they're getting like, they got like 8 out of 10 whatever for the rating. It's like, oh yeah, fucking good for you. You review bombed your own fucking show into a positive review. What is that gaining you other than, that's why I put out there the whole please clap, because that's what remind me of the one Bush.
Jeb Bush. Yeah.
Like, I'm like, good God, Gertie, this is where we've gotten. It's just enough. There's
What did
no
you guys think about
such
the
thing.
fourth wall breaking in She-Hulk?
I didn't mind it as much, but at this
It's from
point,
the comic, so yeah.
it is. I wish they just left it alone. And I get it. Everybody's going to say, well, she did it first. But the problem is Deadpool got there first. So now, to me,
I think she did it better in the books. I mean,
maybe Nick, but at this point, I feel like that's something that should have been just reserved for Deadpool, to be honest. That's just my own
Deadpool
personal
just breaks
opinion.
the fourth wall. She-Hulk actually manipulates reality around her by the comics. She can walk from one panel to another, and if she can do that with scene transitions, that's new ground. And
they're not going to do that. I don't
Yeah,
think.
I wonder if they will. Yeah,
and that would take creative writing to do all that script, and they would actually have to think that stuff out. See, I could get with that. I could get with that if they did their own variation.
I doubt
you could spin a same idea but do a different take on a familiar idea. They have the there. It's not like they don't have a point of reference with several issues of those runs, whether it's
at least
Dan
60.
Slott's run. Yeah, at least 60 between the 50 issue run that had John Byrne's print, and then you had the Slott stuff, which Slott is super detestable, but before he got super detestable, he had a fairly good run on that book that I enjoyed. I'll admit it, and I didn't find it bad. So yeah, it's not like they don't have something to go off of, but yeah, the thing is, it is so, once again, it's so unfunny, and you almost forget that she's trying to do that.
I'll take that back if they do what Script just said, because that is actually something they haven't done yet.
Yeah, because
and also you have her bump into Deadpool at least fucking once.
You could have that. There's another character that's actually far more interesting, and that's Wheezy, who used to be the blonde Phantom in Marvel Comics way back. And she
wait.
Wheezy.
Yeah, she ended up being the assistant to Jennifer Walters while she's becoming a starting her own firm.
Yes,
and
I remember that.
And yeah, she's just this old lady who is fun. She can break the fourth wall too. She teaches Jen how to do it to some degree. and it's just this funnel, like, you know, matronly relationship. She works for Jennifer, but she's also teaching her some stuff about the rules of the universe she's now aware of. And I would rather prefer her than a woman of almost an equal age trying to act half her age and being annoying as hell as a paralegal and with her. It was just, I'm not into affirmation characters like that.
Was that paralegal? Was that the actress? Did you watch Space Force script with Steve Carell?
Oh God, that terrible thing. Yeah, I saw it.
Do you remember? Was that the actress? Was she in that?
I don't think so. She looks like another actress that worked in a bunch of CBS drama shows in the early '90s.
I couldn't tell you.
But her name's escaped me at the moment. But no, she looked like she did not belong in that show. That's for sure.
Nelson Sharita does point out that Howard the Duck did it first, fourth wall break. Yeah, but he's not technically. Well, yeah, he technically is here, but
he did. That's true in the comics.
As far as like, yeah, that would be fun to see him pop in at one point just because. But they haven't established that with him, at least not really, because he was only in those 2 scenes in the Guardians films.
Movies, and then in the Endgame, barely.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was Endgame. That was the other one. But I love the bit in Guardians. Let him lick your face like that. Gross.
Once you go duck, you never go back.
Michael Gonzalez says, listen to Young Boys by Lord of Acid. I haven't heard of Lord of Acid in for years. Jack White says, Mike, I just sent you an email with links to anime sites I use and sent you one as well, Tom. Well, thank you, Jack. If I get a chance to check it out, I will. There you go.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. Hey, Dave Bob's in the house. I say, how you doing, son?
What's up, bud?
Hi, Dave Bob.
Before we sign off, I actually have something to promote tonight.
Please do.
Ooh. Okay, let me bring.
Now's a good time.
I'm going to bring it up on the screen because I know it's where we're caught up on super chats. Ladies and gentlemen, I have an exciting new opportunity. Now for sale is the RCEU, the Rabbit Chicken Extended Universe. It is now available for $1 billion USD or best offer, cash or wire only. You will get publishing rights, gaming rights, movie rights, TV rights. You will get all the rights you want. So, okay, so I'm sure the stream's gonna take off right now. So let's let the bidding begin at 1 billion. Hashtag post your bids on Twitter. Thank you.
How much is this gonna cost me, Mike?
$1 billion, it looks like.
There might. Well, no, I think Tom's thinking about the lawsuits that could come out of this.
Oh.
Well, first of all, yeah, nobody's gonna buy it. So this listing offer. No, you've been trying to sell these bastards for over a year now.
Embracer Group is going to swoop in and buy
fuck.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they're buying everything. Can you imagine Rabbit Chicken Gaming International now? No?
Actually, yeah, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the Rabbit Chicken in like 3 weeks.
That's what I'm saying. So, okay, so not quite a year, but you've been trying to sell these bastards for that long almost, so... Nobody's buying.
Like my day is coming soon.
Well, he keeps
don't
giving
forget
them
they
away.
reproduce also, so it's not just that he doesn't sell them. They're more every day.
That's the problem. And
He
we don't
keeps
know
giving
how.
away virtual rabbit chicken tacos, so
We
nobody
have
has to buy them.
6.
Yeah,
If we didn't,
they're going to go bad.
well, there's that. But also, they'd overpower us. We don't know how they're reproducing, but they do.
Yeah.
And they eat like crazy, but we don't know where it goes in or comes out.
Magic. Everything is magic, Tom. Remember.
But trying to figure it out is half the fun.
You wake up, you go to bed with 2, and you wake up with 12. That's the fucking problem.
Whoa.
They reproduce worse than rabbits. They're just constant.
They're tribbles with legs and wings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very, very productive.
Exactly.
Very productive.
They're eating all the grain.
The quadriquillating.
Shaved tribble.
You know what that means? We now have to put into the ecosystem a pair of them.
Wouldn't,
Somebody has
wouldn't,
ideas?
There is
Wouldn't a
one from
pack-
the animated series.
wouldn't a pack of shaved tribbles just look like a bunch of testicles?
If they're veiny on the outside, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Let's not think about that.
I was gonna say somebody's gonna make that meme, but anyway, Jack White says also sent you 2 emails with a link to a manga site I use. Well, thank you, Jack. Appreciate that as well. If I ever have time, I will do that.
Jack needs
Check
to
them
start
out.
an anime manga channel.
Yeah, you should just start your own channel, Jack. There you go.
And then you know what? And then he can like really turn us on. We can do like private watch parties and all kinds of cool shit.
He can really turn you on.
No,
You
I
said
mean,
turn me on.
I heard
Oh,
that
yeah.
too.
oh my god.
Get off.
You walked into that one. Sorry.
Get off.
Jack White says, give the rabbit chickens to Elf. That's a good point. I wonder if he'll eat them.
No, Alf ain't paying for shit. He doesn't have money. No.
That is because he's an illegal alien. But anyway, let's wrap this up, kids. We've had a pretty good show, I'd say. Diego, anything you got going on you'd like to plug?
Well, just to remind people, today we have our Chavo del Ocho watch party for the members of the channel from Midnight Jets Español. So I'm gonna be hopping on there. We do these like bilingual, watch parties where we watch classic Latino movies, especially
That's
like
right.
Chavo del Ocho, Cantinflas, the great ones.
Nice. If somebody can share the link in the chat, that'd be awesome. And of course, you can always catch Diego over on Midnight's Edge Espanol. He just dropped a video earlier today about some of this Lord of the Rings business. And you always are there on Tuesdays, right? 11 a.m.?
Yes.
It used to be Tuesdays and Thursdays, but now it's just Tuesdays. So yes, Tuesdays around 11 a.m. You can check out Midnight's Edge Espanol. You can find Diego there as well.
11
And
a.m. Central.
11 Central. Yes, I should be more specific. Not Pacific, specific. And Jack White fires in another $2. Thank you so much. It says, I've been thinking about doing that. There you go. That's a good idea, my friend. Klobby, you got anything going on? I'm sure you do.
A little less than an hour at 9 p.m. Central, I'll be doing the Klobby's Clubhouse. Of course, I don't know if I may be doing it solo tonight. I'm not sure. We'll talk a little bit about Gene Roddenberry. Tomorrow's his birthday. Of course.
Yeah.
It's Jack Kirby month on Clobbering Times, but of Saturday night, Saturday at Star Trek, we're reviewing Deep Space Nine. We'll be finishing up season 1 and have a great crowd there. A lot of fun. So thanks for having me, buddy. I appreciate it. And hail to that great chat and my wonderful friends on the panel.
Yeah. Jack White
Yeah,
then
and
also
Klobby
points
has
out.
membership now.
Oh,
Thank you.
So
do
go
you?
get yourself
Awesome.
a Klobby membership.
Oh, you're too
Cool, cool.
Wait.
Maybe I can finally get in the clubhouse. No.
Come in the class anytime, buddy.
Jack White says the YouTube channel. Yeah, we knew what you meant, Jack, and thank you again for the support. And that'd be awesome. We'll let us know if you do get it started. We'll help you get the word out there. And thank you, Klobby, for that and being here. Script, anything you got coming up or?
Yeah, this Saturday at 10 Eastern in the morning or 9 Central, if you're in that time zone. I'll be talking with Keith Moncrief from Pop Culture Minefield. We'll be discussing the Dwayne McDuffie character Icon and Rocket. The milestone run we'll be just talking about there. So it'll be about a 90-minute show. So swing on by Saturday morning.
And I know we're going to try and attempt to do A-rated B movies. We're looking at Fridays, I think you said. So try and keep you guys posted.
Friday's a busy day, but we'll try something really soon around
We'll
like the
come up with a
Friday to
different day
Sunday
then.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, come up with a different day then. Let me know. We'll let you guys know on that. We're trying to figure out a good day for it.
What's the next movie you're going to talk about?
We were going to talk about The Frighteners next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So, Nick, I know next week you've got Airplane for Toxic Tuesday, right?
That's right. Toxic Tuesday is back this coming Tuesday.
Surely you
for
can't be
Airplane.
serious.
Don't call him Shirley.
No, I can't wait. We're really excited. Been talking, of course, to the guys. We're really excited. I think having us away for a bit, definitely gave us that re-energizing. Like, let's get
Season
let's get the show back
2.
on the road, right? Season 2. It's gonna be huge. So, anyways,
Huge.
that's what's gonna be great.
Huge.
I posted a video essay called Amazon's Rings of Power is the Disease, Beavis and Butthead is the Cure. Please check that video out. And so a nice little nod to Cobra for the
Those
Cobra
bear
fans out
sons
there.
of bitches.
And tomorrow night, the Comic Shop Talk, which Klobby's also part of, we'll be having Gabriel El Taib. For those who aren't familiar, he's the guy who quit DC last year because of the direction they're going, and also the colors of the Rippaverse. He'll be on as a guest tomorrow. That will be huge. And of course, you can find me here, Midnight's Edge After Dark, Gillian Park Cars. And I'll also be on Bounty Comics next Wednesday on the Black Pill stream. So those will be my spots. Come check it out. And Thank you guys for being here. Tom, as always, thank you for having me on the show. It was a pleasure being on this panel with all you wonderful humans. And to the mods, thank you for killing the sex bots. You all have a magical evening.
You know what? That sounds like a cool band name. Kill the Sex Bots.
That actually
It
does.
sounds like a badass like new wave band out of the 80s. Kill the Sex Bots.
Kill
Their
the
first-
sex bots. Kill
No,
the
I
their
can
hit
hear
song
it.
would
I
be
can
like
hear
a
with synths. I can hear with synths. Yeah, with synths.
Their
Yeah.
first album is Magical Evening.
doo-doo. Yeah.
That's it.
They would need a rock opera to
We
complete
need
the full
synth
set.
Yes.
Tom. We need synth Tom now. We need synth.
Oh my
wave.
god. Now I'm getting like a brain. Oh shit.
You're getting
Brain
brain.
flash.
Gonzalo Bergali.
What did he do? Did he gift some
He gets 5 minutes Edge After Dark memberships. Grab them,
wow.
folks.
Hey.
Holy crap, holy. Thank you, Gonzalo. He's a very huge contributor here at the channel. Thank you for that. We got, let's see here. Who's got them? Did we get the names
Nobody
yet? Okay. We're waiting. Hoping and waiting. And how do you get, they just randomly give them out? So
Well,
like,
what happens is that the system looks for people that already have membership gifting mode on their profile.
that's right.
to receive
But-
it. Yeah.
But you have to be in the live chat, not the top chat. Go to live chat on the stream, and then a little window should pop up, says, do you want to allow gifting? And you got to say yes. And then the system will give them out. If not, they'll hold them in inventory until someone like that shows up on this stream or any other live stream.
Well, Shoom sent in a member chat and says, why would you go to bed with a rabbit chicken? Isn't that how you get rabbit chicken pox? Oh, that deserves a chink. And with that, Six, I know you got to run real quick here. So anything you got to plug on your way out the door?
I have nothing. I would normally be on Loki's tomorrow night, but I got to work. So,
Oh, bummer.
but go watch Loki's. Go watch Loki anytime. I love Loki. So no, not until Tuesday night, Midnight's Edge After Dark. I will be there.
All right. Well,
That's
if
my
anything
next
else
show.
pops off, I'll let you know. Maybe we'll do some karaoke. It's been a while since we've done some karaoke with Holly. Maybe we'll do something this weekend. But I know is this your weekend you work or whatever?
No, I just picked a coworker needed me to work for him.
Okay, I'll
tomorrow
keep
night.
you posted then. All right. And Mikey, anything you got coming up?
Just my rabbit chicken corporate stock offering.
It's not going to happen, Mike.
Oh, okay. Other than that, I'll be on Tom's
We can
couch.
try
I'll be on Tom's couch most days in the coming.
for the next couple of years because of this.
Yeah.
Anyhow, no.
That's it.
That is it. And we have a new interview we just dropped yesterday afternoon. We just kind of surprised everybody.
Yeah, you did.
Got me. Holy
I
crap.
freaked out.
On what? That
Yeah.
was
Mikey and the boys kept it pretty close to the chest.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
You told me not to tell anyone, so I didn't tell anyone. It was hard though.
Yeah, Timothy's on. Check out our interview with
hard.
Timothy's on.
Nice.
It is up now. And also tomorrow morning, I believe we have Chato, and I think even Cameron might be hopping in.
Cool.
So it is going to be a loaded morning tomorrow, kids. So be there, please. Check us out then. Take care of yourselves and each other. And I think we got everything right. Six, we didn't miss anything. Good.
Didn't miss any chats, but TJ Underwood and Michael Gonzalez both were able to grab
Awesome.
memberships from Gonzalo Bergali.
Sweet.
And EH2
A2
Brutus got one. 2 left, folks. Grab them. Make sure
All
your
right.
settings can accept a.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead and change the settings like Mike just said. You want to reiterate that real quick?
Yeah, so first you have to be in live chat mode, not top chat mode. So in the live stream, you got to look at the top, make sure it's set to live chat. Then as soon as you do that, it should pop up a little window that says, do you want to enable membership gifting? And you have to click yes. Otherwise, the system, when these memberships are given away, it will ignore anybody that doesn't have that setting turned on. Alternatively, you can go to your YouTube profile and turn the setting on there too.
Jason
very
Ward and
much.
Charlie just grabbed the last 2.
All right. Glad that somebody got them. And with that, we're going to get out of here, kids. Thank you so much.